Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, connoisseurs of fine common cardboard. My name is Ryan. I go by Papa Pauper. Got a little bit of difficulties with my downstream keyer today, trying to get that hype intro for you all, but I'm glad to have you all here today. Cheers, and thanks for showing up. How's everyone doing today? And drop a little chat here. Got Jin Shooting Star. Noyark is here with us in spirit today. Everybody say a quick prayer for our studying friend. He's deep in his calculus and stoichiometry, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But yeah, it's great to have everyone here today. We're going to be taking a stab at something a little more smooth-brained than the other projects we've tackled in the past. The last one we had was actually the last deck we worked on was Mayhem Devil. That was at the end of let's see. Actually, this was after Slimefoot. After Slimefoot, we worked on Mayhem Devil, and that one really pulled at the gray matter in our brains. And Rona was also quite challenging. And it isn't to say that we aren't going to give it our best here for CORPSE Augur, or that it doesn't take some skill to play the deck, as we will have it assembled, or that the deck itself won't be in some way challenging to build, but it just isn't going to be as brutal as those ones where you've got 500 cards you can play and things of that nature. So with CORPSE Augur, for those of you who are here so far, talk a little bit about this commander. It looks like we still have Passageway Seer up for our card here. I gotta change that here. Yeah, we gotta go find the CORPSE Augur card. Find that on the internet here. Download it. Yeah. So yeah, CORPSE Augur. The reason that we're tackling this particular deck today is that CORPSE Augur has a pretty powerful ability attached to it. And that ability is to potentially draw. Oh, that doesn't look good at all. We're just gonna take that out for the time being. CORPSE Augur is going to draw us cards based on the quantity of creatures in a target graveyard. And as you may have seen, if you were enticed here by some of the posts I made places, one of the reasons I think that CORPSE Augur's time to shine has arrived is that mono black has really matured in its coverage of the various different things we need to do in a particular cPDH game. So if we're looking at red, we might notice that there's a lack of card advantage. And it's improving. We have cards like Experimental Synthesizer. We have cards like, let me get that music back in here. Oh, we have cards like Reckless Impulse. We have some of the Monarch cards, Crown Hunter, Hireling, Staunch Throne Guard being colorless, so we can play it in any deck. We have cards like Crimson Fleet Commodore, and these cards can draw us repeated cards, but it's overall not really enough to accommodate for the fact that red doesn't have a whole lot of Sign in Blood type effects. It doesn't have Behold the Multiverse, Ponder, Preordain, card selection. Really helps improve the consistency of a deck. Black has that. Black also has kill spells, which in Competitive Pauper Commander is as good as a counterspell in a lot of cases. Black also has edicts. That means non-targeted removal to get rid of things that are too big to kill, or things that have too much toughness perhaps, or have some form of hexproof or shroud. This is also very powerful. And these edicts come in a form that allows us to hit everybody at once, which means that our Fleshbag Marauder, our Slum Reaper, our Chain Devil, Rot-Tide Garganta, Abyssal Gatekeeper, Innocent Blood. These cards allow us to 1 for 4, or 1 for 3 the whole table, and that's really powerful. Moreover, we can reuse these things over and over again because, of course, black has exceptional recursion. Black also has some of the more powerful sweepers in the format with Pestilence, Crypt Rats, Evankar's Justice, a couple of new ones that are not so much new, but cards that haven't seen as much play, but are starting to see more play now because of the prevalence of creatures, are Eyeblight Massacre, and then Arms of Hadar. And Arms of Hadar is targeted, so we're really just going to hit one player with that. But both of these represent a way similar to the edicts of reaping a pretty heavy toll for our single card. So we combine the powerful card advantage, the amazing ability to kill things on the field, and then we add into that black is the home of mass discard. And we start to see that there's this pattern emerging of black having a lot of high value spells, whether it's cards like Siphon Mind or Liliana's Spectre. These are really powerful cards that take a lot of resources from our opponent, and they give us something in return that we really highly value. And it just so turns out that black also has probably the best initiative and monarch creatures in the format. Black has the best initiative, namely because the 2 initiative cards that we got for black are both among the better ones, and it's also among the cheaper ones. So we get great initiative, which is going to give us a reoccurring way to gain value that we can hold on to with our sweepers, our targeted removal, our edicts, our discard, things of that nature. And what we have is the ingredients for really, really powerful black decks. And all they really need is some form of repeatable value, perhaps through card draw or some sort of repeatable removal to be really good. So this will be the first of several mono black decks that we will tackle together. And the reason I chose Corpse Augur is because of the card advantage. And with the discard, the edicts, the murder effects, the sweepers, all of that is going to put stuff into the graveyard. And that is where Corpse Augur comes into play. This deck is interesting in that it follows a sort of style of thinking that's more recent. I think most recent example of it, or the oldest example I can think of it, was Mayhem Devil, where we built the deck so as to make Mayhem Devil powerful, but so that the individual cards themselves did not rely on Mayhem Devil to be in play for them to be good. Individually powerful cards that had synergy with Mayhem Devil was the heuristic around that. And that means that the deck functions perfectly on its own without actually having Mayhem Devil in play. Corpse Augur is much the same way. We have a mono black deck where we can present efficient, powerful, evasive, recursive, value-generating black threats. We have the powerful card advantage engines already built in the deck. And that basically the idea is that it's all going to culminate in, eventually when we see an opportunity or when we start to get low on cards, we can bring in Corpse Augur. Corpse Augur, we're going to find a way to sacrifice it, either with maybe an Ashnod's Altar or maybe something like a Village Rites, Costly Plunder, Deadly Dispute, Reckoner's Bargain. And we're going to not only draw cards or gain some value from the Corpse Augur, but we're also going to draw cards from somebody else's graveyard. So the idea is that this command zone is just a way to draw cards, and that's good enough in this color. So yeah, that's the premise of today's video. We've got our chatter here, Mizu-san. Hey there, Mizu, how you doing? We got, hey Ryan, glad I could make this stream since I missed the last one. Hey, glad to have you here. Cheers and welcome to the stream. It's going to be a fun one today. So with Corpse Augur, we are going to get started here. And with all these videos, I do take a chance at the beginning to examine what's available. And I would say that while I'm a connoisseur of fine common cardboard, I would also say that I'm a connoisseur of mono black decks. I love them in Legacy. I love them in Standard. I love them in Pioneer. I love them in Modern. There's just something about the ability to do almost anything at the cost of life that is so absolutely metal and so emblematic of this particular wedge of the color pie, just black. So PC, this is already great as always. I do hope that you can step away from black and blue in the future. I would be interested in how you combat the weakness of red and green, as you mentioned. Hey there, PC. I haven't seen you before. Glad to have you here. Thanks for joining us today. Yeah, we step away from black and blue. Yeah, so what you all have noticed is probably that the last couple ones have been all built around black. We had our Rona. We had our Slimefoot. We even worked on Mayhem Devil for a brief point, We worked on Sailor's Bane, so those are black and blue. This one is Corpse Augur. The next one coming on Monday is going to be another black deck, which is going to be it's a Sludge Strider. And for those of you that do not know Sludge Strider, let me see if I can bring Sludge Strider up here. Sludge Strider is a 3/3 Esper creature, and it basically says whenever an artifact enters or leaves the battlefield, you can pay a colorless, and you can drain target player for 1, and you gain 1. And it's in Esper colors. I'm having a hard time finding my image of it right now, but really interesting commander as well. So yeah, we will be deviating from this. In particular, if there is a deck that you want to work on, or that you want me to work on, or that you want me to work on with you and chat, we do have a system that we're going to be building here soon for donation decks. So if you want to be in control somewhat of what I work on, that's one way to do it. The other thing is that patrons will have an opportunity to vote on a selection of decks for next week's stream. So we have a system for Patreon, and if you all are interested in supporting the work that myself and Clay do, that's a great way to do it. We're not looking to necessarily make this a career, but we are looking to value our time in such a way, and our expertise in such a way, that we can continue to make great content for you all and continue to up our game. So PC, there will be more in the future. Something like red and green is absolutely doable. And yeah, I appreciate the feedback. Jin Shooting Start, I feel Papa. I only play decks with Grixis Shard colors. Yeah, Grixis is good. I do love Grixis. Yeah, for sure. And I think I have a special affinity just for black. It just really, there's something about it in cPDH that just really turns my crank. And I've only been playing, I play a variety of decks, a pretty wide variety of decks, non-combo mostly. But lately I've been on a kick of just playing Passageway Seer over and over and over again. Get that good testing in. Mizu-san, I'd love to see some Selesnya stuff, maybe Huatli, in preparation for the Rule 0 tourney. What a great question here. And you also said, Jen says, Sludge looks really cool indeed. Yeah, I think so too. Sludge Strider, it's amazing that it hasn't been done. I think people looked away from it because it only hits one player. But I think that's actually something that we can treat as an advantage as well, because it makes us less threatening. And even though it means we have to do a lot more work to end the game, it also means that we're less likely to be disrupted by the table. And I call this possum equity. It's basically value that we get for being interacted with less when our stuff maybe only targets one player. The main issue is having to pay. Yeah, and I think that's something we can actually get around if we just play an enormous number of mana rocks. So the Seer looks so fun from Mizu. I can't wait to hopefully see some gameplay. Yeah. We can actually, once we're done working on Corpse Augur, I'll give you all a little teaser of the Passageway Seer deck and talk a little bit about what's going on there. But let's get into this here. And one final thing I want to mention, Mizu, with the Selesnya, I have a Huatli deck. For those of you that don't know, Huatli, the Sun's Heart, is a uncommon planeswalker from War of the Spark. And it grants it's a Door in the Siege Tower deck where everybody is hitting with their toughness. And it's really fun because you get a lot of 1 mana 3/3s, 1 mana 4/4s, 2 mana 4/4s, 2 mana 5/5s, 2 mana 6/6. And it's probably one of the fastest aggro decks in the format if it were to be legal. I'm very interested in seeing Planeswalkers eventually be legal in this format. I think that they will. The research I've done, the data I've gathered from the public, or from the sort of the public, the commons of PDH players, suggests that people do want the Planeswalkers, and there's a lot of really cool stuff. But let's not get too distracted here. Corpse Augur is what we're going to work on for now. So we're going to go down here. You're going to see I have 109 cards in considering already. And of course, you know that the lands aren't in here. So we're at least, 100 and, 130 good cards probably that we're going to end up looking at. And we've got to get this down to 100. So the first things first, I think that Corpse Augur is going to want to have just the normal base of like powerful spells in black, a lot of generic stuff. So some of those are going to be Costly Plunder and Deadly Dispute and Night's Whisper and Siphon Mind. These are all really, really powerful. We're also going to go in here and add Sign in Blood, because we don't want to be relying purely on our command zone for card advantage. That's not the goal at all. The goal is basically that our Corpse Augur, if and when we run out of cards, or if we need to find something in particular, that Corpse Augur is going to be there to have our back. Okay, so we've got those powerful draw spells there. We're also going to go and add Read the Bones. And we're going to add, what's it called? Blood Pact. And we're going to play Pointed Discussion. So we'll probably have, a selection of like 10 powerful draw spells. And we're going to go kind of rapid fire here so that we don't take up all of your night, and maybe we can cover some other stuff. But I'm going to add some other stuff too along the way. Tassiger's Cruelty comes to mind. I thought of that because of Siphon Mind. We will never, ever, ever leave home in this without Pestilence and Crypt Rats. And we will also never suffer a nasty white bordered card to live. Okay. So that's a good start there. We've got some sweepers. We've got some draw spells. These are like your classic core of any black deck, most black decks. Mizu-san, does Corpse Augur pay life? Maybe the draw spells that make a food? That's a great question. Yeah, so Corpse Augur does cost life. When Corpse Augur dies, you draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the number of creatures in target player's graveyard. So that could be really expensive. We could potentially be taking significant amount of damage off of Corpse Augur, and that's why we're going to play some ways to buffer against that. So Vampire Spawn is kind of a favorite of mine lately, and its bigger older brother is called Diregraph Scavenger. And Diregraph, that's a D, not a G. Diregraph Scavenger. So we've got Vampire Spawn, 3 mana ETB. We're going to drain everyone for 2. And then we've also got Diregraph Scavenger, which is 4 mana, 2/3, Death Touch. And then it has a little ability that allows you to exile a creature from a graveyard and then drain everybody for 2 if it's a creature. You don't have to exile a creature. You can exile any card, but if you want the drain, it needs to be a creature. The Death Touch on this is really key. Someday, WotC, if you're hearing this, I know I posted to the Reddit/MTG subreddit. Please downshifted Gifted Aetherborn. I want this card so badly. 2 mana, 2/3, lifelink Death Touch would be an amazing boon for black decks. Another way that we are going to recover our life total is with Basilica Screecher. And this is a 2 mana, 1/2 flying with Extort. For those of you that don't know, Extort, the reminder text says white or black. So we don't need to be a white or white-black deck to play Basilica Screecher. So Basilica Screecher is amazing. Extort is very powerful. This is going to be a great way for us to gain that life back. There's other mono black ones that we can play too, like Syndicate Enforcer. This one is among the worst of the Extort cards. Being a 3/2 is pretty vulnerable. It's going to die to a Stiff Breeze, and it's 4 mana, so it is expensive. But Extort is just that good, and it's just that good in this deck in particular. So we're going to also drop these under life gain, because we do want to make sure that we have a sufficient amount of life gain in this deck to buffer the Corpse Augur's ability. Okay, some other standard pieces of black card draw and creatures are Dusk Legion Zealot. This one may or may not survive the cuts just because it's so do nothing. But what I have noticed about the Dusk Legion Zealot and even the Phyrexian Rager is that later on they make an excellent fodder for sacrifice effects. Innocent Blood, Rot-Tide Garganta, Chain Devil, Fleshbag Marauder. Dusk Legion Zealot does make good fodder for that, and it is drawing us a card. You'll notice here Corpse Augur is a wizard, which plays nicely into Malakir Blood Priest. Malakir Blood Priest is a 2-mana 2/1 with Party, and then it's got a Gary effect, a mini Gary, where we're going to drain everybody for X, where X is the number of creatures in our party. It's a cleric. Augur's a wizard. We have a variety of other things in here, like Rogue, that I think we'll probably be able to get up to at least 2. If we drain for 2, we'll be happy. That being said, if we go back through later on and we don't find that there's enough party stuff, and this is only going to drain for 1 most of the time, this will be one of the first things we cut. But we're going to bring it in for the time being. Okay. We're going to bring in some of our other standard ones. Thorn of the Black Rose for Monarch, the 4-mana Vicious Battle Rager, Gary, obviously. We're never leaving house without him. We've got the Staunch Throne Guard, the Underdark Explorer for our second initiative card, First Sphere Garganta, which is a really powerful creature as well. Noteworthy that First Sphere Garganta has more than 4. It has 4 toughness, and it's black, so it dodges a lot of the standard removal that sees play. So we're going to drop these in here. These all represent some form of card advantage. Gary, of course, gaining us life. Great. Okay, we got a good start here. Another card that I like to play in my mono black decks is Underworld Charger. It uses our graveyard to come back over and over again as a 5/5. And a recursive 5/5 black creature is very hard to kill. And it doesn't block, which is a big hit on it. But the fact that it's coming back over and over is quite good. So we will be playing that. We're going to get our Phyrexian Rager in here. Liliana's Spectre is also something I really enjoy. Flying is particularly good in the meta right now for reclaiming or gaining the Monarch or the Initiative. And so we'll definitely be putting in there. Jin Shooting Star, Crypt Incursion is worth. Crypt Incursion could be very good. The only thing is that Crypt Incursion is going to exile the cards from people's graveyard that we want to draw cards off of. So maybe the way it works is that we play our Corpse Augur, we sack it to whatever sack outlet we have, we draw cards off their graveyard, and then we exile it. That could be one way to look at it, and it does offset that life loss pretty well. Hi there, Fly Jump. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Audacious Thief, worth it since it's a rogue party member. Well, you know what? Audacious Thief is just a great card. This is kind of a card that actually doesn't see a whole lot of play right now, but this is basically like our format's version of Bob. You know, this is a card that can draw you several cards if somebody doesn't kill it. And, you know, it's like, it's ultimately like a small creature that's maybe not super meaningful, but with all of our Mass Edict effects, you know, really taxing people's board resources, there's a good chance we're going to be able to get some attacks in. It also doesn't need to hit to draw that card. So I do like Audacious Thief, and that will be going in the deck. And we're also going to double stack this one over in draw. Okay, great. So we've got some good ones there. We're probably going to play the discard creatures. So we've got Virus Beetle. We've got the, what was it called? The Elder Fang Disciple. Yep. Which discard cards from everybody's hand. We may even play Blade Juggler. I think Dothy Slayer has got its time to shine right now. Double black always attacks, but it's almost always going to be unblockable. And so I think this is going to be really powerful. We're also probably going to play Dothy Horror, just because it's so good at reclaiming the initiative and the Monarch. Okay. Chain Devil, probably one of the best Mass Edicts we have right now. We're going to play that. We're going to play Fleshbag Marauder. You can see I've already got those tagged as edicts. These ones are going to sacrifice and destroy everything. Really like those ones. We're going to get Slum Reaper in there. We are going to play Debt to the Kami. This is an edict. Target opponent sacks a creature they control, or target opponent sacks an enchantment they control. And this is a card that I put in a lot of my black decks because, by and large, black needs to be cautious about losing its commander to an oubliette. Oubliette's an enchantment. It's going to phase out our commander. We won't ever get it back. That's not a huge deal in this deck. So we may consider whether we want this or maybe a modal creature, like the new ones that can destroy or make an opponent sack an enchantment on ETB, because then they're also just a body. They also have a second line of text on them that allow you to get either Death Touch or Menace. So there's that. Did we get Village Rites in there? I don't know that we did. Yeah, we did not have Village Rites in there. Village Rites is so good. Deadly Dispute. Reckoner's Bargain is not in here. Debt to the Kami is amazing, to be honest, as enchantments are hard to remove with mono black. Yeah, although, and you're right, although we actually have, there's a lot of new tools for this. If we go and look enchantment in black, we have these two right here, this one and Ghastly Death Tyrant. So the 4 mana or 6 mana 6/5, each opponent sacks an enchantment, or creatures you control gain menace. This one's really good. I like the menace here quite a lot, although each opponent sacks an enchantment might be a pestilence or an oubliette. So this one might not be fully reliable. Whereas Ghastly Death Tyrant is a 6/5 for 6. You can destroy target enchantment an opponent controls, then you lose life equal to its mana value, which is going to be 3 to 4 life when you use this. And then the creatures you control gain Death Touch. So we have those two. We have Farika's Libation, which makes an opponent sack an enchantment. We have Feed the Swarm, which should go in almost every black deck, and then Debt to the Kami. So we actually aren't that light on this. Even this one says target opponent sacks an enchantment. But it is something we need to be cautious about because we really don't want to lose our commander forever to an oubliette. That being said, if somebody oublietted our Corpse Augur, that would be a hell of a day. So maybe we don't need to worry about it as much as I am. We are going to bring in oubliette. Speaking of which, this card, ban it, burn it with fire, Grasp of Darkness, Victim of Night, Feed the Swarm, Defile, and Snuff Out are just classics. Okay, good. And then what else in here is like absolutely staple? Probably Cast Down and Doomblade. So we'll move those ones in. We are also going to play Innocent Blood. Like that. We'll probably also play Miracle's Edict, which you can see here. It's roll a d20. You either make one person sack something, you make each opponent sack something, or each opponent has to sack their biggest thing. And I really like this card. It's not reusable in a deck like this because we don't have a way to recur instants and sorceries. But 2 mana, 50% of the time, making everybody sack a creature is very good. And it has a sneaky ability, and that is that all you do when this spell resolves is you roll a d20. And the result you get happens right away with no interaction between. So when you let Miracle's Edict resolve, I don't have to target any particular player. I don't have to do anything. I just cast it. Does this resolve? So that means if you want to feign death to sacrifice something and get it back again, or if you want to, do something to get your creature to not die, basically. There's no real way to do that unless you're going to guess as to what my target is. So, very cool card. Very efficient. Dimir Houseguard is going to be amazing in this deck. It's a tutor for 4, so it's going to find us our Pestilence. It can also find us crazy stuff like Siphon Mind, and it can find... there's usually a bunch of hits for it. It can find us the Initiative, like Monarch Initiative. It can find us Extort. It can even find us Graveyard Hate with Diregraph Scavenger. It can find us an Edict. And it can find, of course, Siphon Mind as well. So, it can find Snuff Out. That's the other weird one, is that if you do need a tutor for targeted removal, you can pay 3, tutor for it, pay 4 life, and snuff something out, which is a weird scenario, but I have had to do it before where there literally wasn't anything at 4 that was going to save me other than a kill spell. So yeah, we are going to play that. The other thing is it says sack a creature, regenerate. This is going to be, in some cases, just a sacrifice outlet for Corpse Augur, which we're gonna want. Another sacrifice outlet here that I didn't have in my initial build of this here was Ashnod's Altar. And Ashnod's Altar is just sacrifice a creature, add double colorless to your mana pool. And this is going to be great for this deck. Not only are we going to make mana off of our Corpse Augur, but we're going to draw all those cards, and then we're going to have a way to cast more of our spells because we sacrificed our Corpse Augur. So I'm excited to have this one in here. Corpse Augur doesn't often find, Ashnod's Altar doesn't often find homes in decks. There's a couple that it does, but it's a very narrow use. So, okay. This deck is going to want to have some ramp. So let's get Mind Stone in there. I think Thought Vessel is going to be really important because we're going to be drawing so many cards. Decanter of Endless Water is also appealing to me for that same reason. We're not wedded to 2 mana rocks in this case. We are going to run some 3 mana rocks. As I'll sometimes call them, like the Cuatros Amigos are your Bonder's Ornament, Honored Heirloom, Lantern of Revealing, and Network Terminal. Although, to be quite honest, the Tres Amigos, being Bonder's Ornament, Honored Heirloom, and Network Terminal, are the ones that most commonly show up in a 3 set in a particular deck. Whereas Lantern of Revealing, not every deck necessarily can find the room for it. We're also going to want Arcane Signet and Felwar Stone. And that's probably fine for that. We might go up to a 10th. We might go up to a 10th one. But you can see we're actually getting like pretty close to being, like maxed out on our stuff. So let's get the other ones. Evankar's Justice in here. And drop down into Sweepers. Evankar's Justice hits everything and everybody for 2, and you can buy it back for 3. I won a game on the back of Evankar's Justice today. I had 21 mana in my Passageway Seer deck, and I dropped it once, buyback, dropped it twice, buyback, dropped it 3 times, killed everything on the table after I attacked, except for my Vicious Battle Rager, which was a 3/7 off of the Forge. And then I just killed everybody, and it was great. So I like Evankar's Justice a lot. Okay. Cranial Plating is something we could talk about too, as a way to close the game out. We do want to have ways in our deck that we can just kind of like end the game, and I think that Cranial Plating is one of them. Cranial Plating, as long as you have another artifact in play, is as good as Bone Splitter, and Bone Splitter is a perfectly playable card. Once we start going above that with multiple mana rocks, Cranial Plating is turning anything we have into a meaningful threat. If Cranial Plating is +4/+0, it's turning our Liliana Spectre into a 6-power creature. It turns our Virus Beetle into a 5-power creature. It turns Dothy Slayer into an unblockable 7-power creature. And that's really good. So we're not going to lean heavily into Cranial Plating in any special way, but we are going to have the mana rocks in our mana base. We're going to have probably 9 to 10 mana rocks. We may, choose some creatures that have artifact subtext as well in them, because what we're going to want to have is about like 15 to 20 artifacts in the final deck to make Cranial Plating very good. So this is one way that we can just like end the game. So like Nihil Spellbomb will go in the deck. We don't really want to exile our own stuff, so Nihil Spellbomb is going to be nice that way. Although we could also choose to play Relic if we want to maximize our Cranial Plating even more. Stinkweed Imp is an interesting one. I haven't put Stinkweed in a deck for cPDH in some time. And this one might feed our graveyard for Corpse Augur, but I think that our better play is actually just rely on the thing that we normally do, which is we're killing things, we're edicting them, we're sweeping them, we're discarding them. Those are all good enough on their own. Okay, Carrion Feeder is also interesting to me too. Let's go back. Carrion Feeder. We're not going to have like a ton of fodder. I guess we will, because we're already kind of looking at like a 30 creature deck. Maybe that is good enough. Yeah, something like that, and maybe even Viscera Seer. Viscera Seer is an option. Although Viscera Seer is pretty like do nothing in a lot of ways. Like it's just gonna like turn each creature into a sack or into a scry, whereas something like Ecstatic Awakener does turn into a 4/4 with the most metal flavor text of any card I've ever seen. Bones cracked, flesh split apart, and the screams of euphoric agony gave way to unholy laughter. Oh god, so sick. All right, so Ecstatic Awakener, 3 mana, sack another creature, draw a card, then transform it, becomes a 4/4 black creature. I really like that. It does mean that our play with Corpse Augur will be 7 mana with Ecstatic Awakener, which is a lot, but I think Corpse Augur is also like not a card that's coming out until mid to late game, so I think that's fine. Yeah, looking pretty good here. So let's go take a look at our balance of stuff. We have 8 removal spells. This is going to have to go up. We're going to want Nixilus's Cruelty. We've got the good 2 mana ones. Ooh, except we don't have Go for the Throat. Go for the Throat is going to go in there. Nixilus's Cruelty actually like paid some huge dividends for me today too. The little clause on there that says if it would die, exile it instead was huge. I exiled a Aegis Automaton, which is basically like a 0/4 or 0/3 that can return a creature to your hand for 5 mana without tapping. And in the Rocco deck, that means they can continue to reuse their Rocco. And really in any deck that can use it in white, you can just reuse your ETBs. And I had to exile it because they kept on recurring their combo creatures back, and Nixilus's Cruelty shut the door on that completely. And this is where I get to talk about 2 cards I've been watching for some time, and I think it's time for them to shine. And that is Grotesque Demise. 3 mana, exile target creature with power 3 or less. And it's near carbon copy, which is called Complete Disregard. And Complete Disregard is the devoid version of that. Exile target creature with power 3 or less. This hits a remarkable amount of the format. Complete Disregard and Grotesque Demise hit Peregrine Drake, Pneumatic Wall, Archaeomancer, Salvager of Secrets. It's going to hit Revolutionist. It's going to hit Ardent Elementalist. It's going to hit like most of the powerful combo cards in the format. So we're going to want these in here. It also hits Midnight Guard as well, which is a combo with a Presence of Gond. A Fly Jum. Would Eternal Thirst be good in this? Eternal Thirst is 1 in a black aura. Whenever a creature dies, you put a +1/+1 counter on that creature, and it gains lifelink. The lifelink thing is unrelated to the counters. It gains lifelink, and it's basically lifelink paired with Sadistic Glee. I think that it's possible that Eternal Thirst, and I believe it's only your opponent's stuff, right? I don't think Eternal Thirst is where we want to be. Yeah, whenever a creature an opponent controls dies. I guess the question is, like, what are we putting this on? I'm not a huge fan of the fact that opponents can deny us our life gain by just killing our creature. That's kind of a bummer. but we will watch this. I'll put it in considering for now. This is a card that I do tend to put in some decks. The opponent control aspect of it. Yeah, but I think it's a good recommendation, Fly. The reason I mention that is because, or that I like it, is that like if we drop a Slum Reaper, 3 opponents are going to sack a creature. That's +3/+3 on the creature that we have, and that could quite possibly push it out of the range in which it can be killed by damage. So I don't hate it, and it might actually be a good fit for the deck. All right, we're going to bring these in here. What are we missing? We are missing the Vendetta, Ghastly Demise, Executioner's Capsule. Capsule is kind of interesting. Capsule has fallen out of favor a bit because it doesn't target black things, and there's a lot of black decks right now. Okay, how many ways do we have to sacrifice? So we have this, we have Innocent Blood, we have Fleshbag Marauder, Chain Devil, Slum Reaper, Ecstatic Awakener, Carrion Feeder. We have Village Rites, we have Costly Plunder, Deadly Dispute, Reckoner's Bargain. So 11 ways to do it. I'm going to do a quick check-in with you all. How's the audio sounding? Is the music coming through clear? Is my voice coming through clear? Is everything working out well for you all? If it isn't, let me know. If it is, give me a thumbs up or something in chat. And that way I can fix it if it's not coming through the way that we'd hope. Okay, let's get the lands in here. Adagan BBQ, welcome. Glad to have you here. Thanks for showing up today. Well, we've got a little bit left in my drink. Thanks for coming. And Derek, that is sweet of you to ask. Yes, things are sound fine. Excellent. Thanks for showing up, Derek. For those of you that don't know, Derek is one of the RC members for Pauper Commander. And don't harass him or anything about it. He's a great guy. But thanks for showing up, Derek. Glad to have you here. And yeah, glad to hear everything's working well. Drink lots of water, folks. Just a little health tip of the day. Another sweet thing you say. You're on a roll. Yeah, you know. I love nothing more than communities that are positively reinforcing. It's a core part of what we do in my local meta, where we play Pauper and Pauper Commander. And it's a core part of what we do at the Tryhards as well, is always trying to build each other up and try to support each other in building new and interesting decks and optimizing what we've got so that we can play the best Magic we possibly can. So, okay, back to the deck. We got Darksteel Citadel. This is going to be another artifact we can feed into either a Costly Plunder, a Reckoner's Bargain, Deadly Dispute if we need to in a pinch, or it will feed the Cranial Plating. And because we're a mono black deck, it's okay if we play a Cranial Plating. Totally fine. Or sorry, a Darksteel Citadel. Mortuary Mire, this is a favorite of mine. It's going to get a creature back from our graveyard. This is important because reusing Fleshbag Marauder, Chain Devil, Slum Reaper, Rot-Tide Garganta is an incredibly powerful mechanic. When you're playing with the Monarch and the Initiative, the ability to take away attackers from everybody is so powerful for holding on to it. So we're going to play that. We're also going to play Witch's Cottage. We're going to play Vault of Whispers. This is another artifact, untapped. Just going to throw these swamps in here. This mana base is not complicated. Not complicated at all. Oh my god, this deck would slap with Phyrexian Tower. Could you imagine? You like cast Corpse Augur and then sacrifice Corpse Augur to Phyrexian Tower, make double black. Ugh. Ugh. So good. Okay. So we've got our lands. Bajuka Bog also is going in here. We're going to be a 30, probably a 35 land deck. We're also going to do Haunted Fengraf. This one returns a creature at random from our graveyard to our hand when we sacrifice it. But it does bring it back to our hand, which is great. And we may have ways to manipulate this. Maybe we use our Honored Heirloom to exile, say, a Dusk Legion Zealot, and then we crack our Haunted Fengraf so that we can try and get back our Slum Reaper. This is pretty good. We've got enough draw effects, and because we have Corpse Augur, we're not going to play Barrenmoor. We might play Barrenmoor, but we're probably not going to play Desert of the Glorified. Desert of the Glorified or Polluted Mire. Those are the other two cyclers alongside Barrenmoor. I just don't think we need them. And what's crazy is this means that we only have one tap land in the whole deck. We're going to change that, though, a little bit. Actually, Opal Palace is not going to change that. But this is a card that if you don't play this in your mid-range and your control decks, you might be doing it wrong. Opal Palace and Study Hall, like fundamentally for me, changed the way I built decks. So much so that even like Witherbloom Apprentice, which for those of you that don't know, it's black and a green Magecraft, drain everybody for 1 every time you cast it or copy an instant or sorcery in Golgari. And the Opal Palace and Study Hall changed Witherbloom so much that I actually started to call it an Opal Palace deck, which is weird because combat is not really a part of the strategy, except that if Witherbloom has died like 7 times, or even 8, and you recast it, which the deck can do because it ramps and because the commander's cheap, Witherbloom kind of becomes like an 8/8. So like, or Study Hall, like I cast Witherbloom with Study Hall one time for like 19. And I just went and found the card I needed to win the game. Like, I don't know what other like confirmation you all need, but Study Hall is insane. Opal Palace is insane. These cards are just busted. and you get value the first time you put them out there too. So anyways, a Jin Star. It's a shame every DFC card is uncommon or higher. I fully agree. The DFC cards are so cool, and I wish we got them. A card like, what was the Fling? There's a Fling for 3. That one would have been really cool. The Tangled Florahedron would have been really cool. Derek can confirm scrying 3 or 4 off Study Hall is gas. The delta between Scry 2 and Scry 3 is just unfathomable. Malakir Rebirth makes me salivate. Yeah, Malakir Rebirth would have been unreal. And really what I like about this card so much is that it's kind of in the vein of cards that are useful at every stage of the game. They're either going to be a land early on, or they're going to have some useful effect that we want. And I just think that the more WotC starts to build cards like that, especially with Adventure being that way, with DFC, I think that's really, really good for the game in general. Jin saying Silundu Vision. Silundu Vision. I don't think this is a common, is it? No, that one's not a common. It's not even a card I was able to find. Interesting. Silundi. We'll go here. Okay. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery, put it in your hand, put the rest on the bottom, and it can be a land. Yeah, I hear you, Jen. Yeah, I know you're just throwing out cool cards here that are DFC that you wish were legal. Yeah, that's nuts. That's like Impulse on steroids. And Impulse, adding a mana to Impulse to go 2 more at instant speed while also having a land on it. Like, what I love about this is it's just a reasonable, it's not even reasonable. This is a good card. Now, you can't take anything. It has to be an instant or a sorcery, but I think the decks that would want to play this are perfectly happy. But like top 6 is like 10% of your library. No, it's more than that. It's like, if you're in 60 card, then, by the time you're casting this, if you cast this on turn 3, that's probably like 12 or 13% of your deck you're looking at. It's so gas. It's probably like 8% of your deck if you're to cast it on turn 3 in cPDH. Anyways, great card. DFCs, Wizards, please print more of them. I think that would be really awesome. Okay. So we got our 35 lands. If you all see anything else that you think needs to be in here that I've missed with our lands, other than the cycling lands, let me know. I think this is pretty good. We're at 104 cards, and it's looking really good. I mean, I told you guys, this is going to be smooth brain. Like, building mono black is not hard, and it's still really good. A couple of things we're missing here are... oh yeah, we should remember that Siphon Mind is also discard. We should also play Unnerve, I think. I think Unnerve is going to be good here. And then we need to drop these discard cards. Oh, we don't have Burglar Rats in here. Burglar? Where are you, you little... Oh. Huh. Oh, Burglar Rat. That's it. Okay. See, I think I see this and is that only one? I guess there's only one rat there, so it isn't the plural. Ooh, Death Rattle. I forgot about this card. When another creature you control dies, transform Desperate Farmer. That's kind of interesting. I'm going to throw that in there too. Falconwrath Noble. I totally forgot about this one. This one won a game for me literally today by making it impossible for my opponent to block. They were going to die either way, which is very powerful. I mean, we could also play Rotting Rats. That one also hits our cards though, which I'm less excited about. To play a Serrated Scorpion. Is Vicious Rumors good enough from Jin Shooting Star? So Vicious Rumors is 1 black. Every opponent takes 1, you gain 1. Every opponent mills a card, and then they discard a card. My intuition is no, but let's pull it up here. There is tech here, which is that a lot of the ways in the format that we bring things back from the graveyard is by putting it back on top of our library. Mystic Sanctuary does that. Witch's Cottage does that. Mortuary Mire does that. Even Biblioplex Assistant for like non-blue decks that want to return things over and over. So Vicious Rumors can take that card and put it back into the graveyard, which is good. The damage and the life gain are really minimal, and the 1 discard, maybe that's fine. It doesn't usually find a home for me though. Fly Jump, Abyssal Gatekeeper in. Yeah, Abyssal Gatekeeper's a good one. Maybe we can handle that one in this deck. I guess we could do it with our commander, right? This one is basically when it dies, each player sacks a creature. God, this deck would be like playing the most brutal sacrifice package. Yeah, maybe it's not good enough, says Jin, but it does do so much for a single pip. Yeah. I think it does do a lot, and maybe there's an argument there, like compared to Unnerve or something. But the thing is that the amount of resources you consume from your opponents on something when you go up that mana into discarding 2 from everybody is significant. You know, you're going from discarding 3 cards to actually discarding 6. And that's a lot for 4 mana. And you're right, it's only 1 mana. I think it's part of it just feels like it's not high impact enough for me to want to jump for it. Okay. Let's go Liliana Spectre, bring that into discard. Yeah, Vicious Rumors and Torwauki is a whole different ballgame, though. Yeah, no, it's great. In Torwauki, yeah. And that's partially because in Torwauki, like, your spells can be weird as long as they're cheap, because like the floor on any card that's an instant or a sorcery in Torwauki is like a mini lightning helix, right? Like that's the floor on it, and if it does more, then that's great. But like at the very least, it's going to get a trigger off Tor. I like it a lot in Tor, so it's in my version of it as well. It's also pressuring life totals, discarding cards. That deck wants to discard cards because you really don't ever want to have to play with Tor where it's exposed really badly to removal or anything like that. So we're at 110 cards. This is like not nearly as bad as some of the other builds that I've done. Okay, let's take a look at Malakir Blood Priest and see. We need Cleric, Rogue, Wizard, and Warrior. And I will mention too in the chat or below in the description, the deck list is there. If you want to follow along and refresh, you'll be able to see exactly what I'm looking for. You could even make your own duplicate and look for cards there too, or if you've got Scryfall open. So Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, and Wizard. So we have a Wizard here. Two, 3, 4, 5, 'All right, so we have 6 creatures in the deck that work with Malakir Blood Priest. That is not enough. So yeah, that's gonna go. We're gonna have to start making some harder cuts. I think the Desperate Farmer is gonna have to go. I think it's kind of cute. We have a lot of sacrifice outlets, so I'm not super worried about that. I really like First Sphere Garganta, but it is a bit expensive. It's such a great body, and the Unearth can be really helpful for if you have like a blood token or you have like Network Terminal, you can just like draw a card off of it anyways and pitch it into the yard, and then it's like really efficient. I don't really want to get rid of it, but we might have to. We might go down on some of this draw, knowing that our commander is going to pick up the slack for us. And some of this is not draw. So, I mean, it is draw. Like, you know, Vicious Battle Rager and Underdark Explorer do draw you cards. Executioner's Capsule is not mandatory. I think we'll cut that. Abyssal Gatekeeper, I think, is like the worst of these, although it's kind of the same thing as Innocent Blood, except that it's conditional. You need to turn it on. You need to be able to sacrifice it. Whereas Innocent Blood, you just get to do it right away. Oh, we don't have Rot-Tide Garganta in here. Okay, this is a little interesting side discussion here. My play group locally here at one point got into a bit of an argument over this. We had to pull in a judge to officiate it, and that is about Rot-Tide Garganta's wording. Rot-Tide Garganta, if it is killed in response to the exploit trigger going on the stack, we cast it, it enters the battlefield. Once it's entered the battlefield, that trigger goes on the stack. Somebody can go to kill it, and if they kill it, and we still choose to exploit, Rot-Tide Garganta does not see the exploit happen, and it does not make everyone sack a creature. This is a bummer, because that means that your removal spell can turn into a form of like a counter spell, in a sense, for Rot-Tide. It does take, killing it. You can still sack a creature if you want to, which is what we'll probably do in this case. The exploit trigger is still there. It's just that if Rot-Tide dies and it's no longer there, then it doesn't work. And that's in part because of the way it's worded. It's all one. It's all part of that ETB trigger that, if it exploits, it needs to be there to see it exploit for you to make everybody sack. That being said, it's still a 5-mana 5/4 that makes everyone sack something, and like that is still good enough. If you cast this and you turn your Elderfang Disciple into a Rot-Tide Garganta, you're doing good. That's definitely solid. I imagine the exploit trigger needs to resolve for the creature to be considered exploited. That's interesting. I admit that this is a bit of like the really, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. The effect being a sacrifice. So that's to assign that the sacrifice is assigned some characteristic, being that it's an exploit sacrifice. When Rot-Tide exploits, so that's the funny thing, is it's almost like because Rot-Tide isn't there, the Rot-Tide isn't exploiting the creature. And that's what's weird about it. It's honestly, pardon my French, but it's a whole lot of fuckery. And I just wish that they'd worded it in a way that didn't make it have that vulnerability. Because it's just kind of dumb. So, but it's still, again, like I said, yeah, in a sense, a weird mechanic, is what you said, Derek, there. Such a weird mechanic. Yeah. That being said, though, again, like the floor on this is still, like, it's a 5/4. And to be honest, like, a lot of decks struggle to kill a 4 toughness black creature. This checks a lot of the boxes. So if somebody's using, like, their premium removal on this Rot-Tide Garganta, like, the situation has got to be incredibly dire for that to happen. And so sure, if they want to make that, that's fine. The upside is that most of the time we like turn our Virus Beetle into a Rot-Tide Garganta and everyone loses a creature. Derek, I agree, 5 power is tough to put things in front of. Yeah, and that's the other thing is, like, in terms of blocking, this is going to eat everything. Like, this will eat a Dargo. 5 power is an amazing break point in this format. 4 toughness is a big break point in this format. So okay, so let's make some cuts here, folks. Start dropping ideas in chat. It could be Serrated Scorpion. I think that's an easy cut. I think our removal is pretty dialed. I don't know that I want to make any changes to this. Our sweepers are dialed. Pretty set on Cranial Plating. We have 16 artifacts. That's plenty. We have lots of sacrifice effects to make our Corpse Augur work. We could potentially play more of them. I think that there are more of them. There's I know that there's more of them. There's the 3-mana one. There's Altar's Reap, which would also work. God, it's so gas. Like, in that interaction, if we play Corpse Augur and somebody has 3 creatures in their graveyard and they have like an Honored Heirloom and they go and exile one of the cards, as we have, we like cast Corpse Augur and they're like, oh, this guy's definitely got a sack outlet. And so they like exile a creature out of their graveyard. They only have 2, say 2 is the most. We sacrifice Corpse Augur using Costly Plunder, targeting that graveyard. And we're going to draw 2 from the Costly Plunder and 2 more from the Corpse Augur. We're going to draw 4 cards. It's so good. Yeah, Flyjon, Dimir Houseguard is a sack outlet too. Yeah, exactly. And that's so powerful. Like Corpse, like Dimir Houseguard is... We brought it in. Yeah, I need to just add this under tutors. Yeah, good catch. I didn't have it under there. So yeah, 12 ways to sacrifice is really good. Carrion Feeder might be a little weird. Like Carrion Feeder outside of like our commander might just not be that big. I mean, we have stuff we can eat with it, but the only time I'm really going to want to eat things with Carrion Feeder is when those things are already going to die. And a lot of times people aren't targeting, your Elder Fang Disciple. They'll just target the Carrion Feeder. So I don't know that this is going to make the cut, whereas a Static Awakener is going to draw us a card, which is great. And it becomes a 4/4 right away. So yeah, Carrion is great since the counters are permanent. I guess my worry is that like this deck isn't built to optimize Carrion Feeder, and I really don't want to go all in on a Carrion Feeder. Like Carrion Feeder, you want to have quite a bit of good fodder for it. And this deck has a lot of creatures, but none of them produce 2 bodies. None of them, like very few of them come back, and we wouldn't even want to pay for them if they did. Yeah. Do we have anything that... This might seem like a funny thing to look for, but Swamp Cycling. Ooh. Ooh. Swamp Cycling is interesting because it allows us to get Witch's Cottage. This is also a 5/3 with Regenerate. This is an interesting card to keep in mind. Oh my god, we forgot the GOAT. Bone Picker. Bone Picker's ready. Yeah. I do love my Death Touch Delver. Of course, we're supposed to be cutting cards, not adding them right now. So, I think we could potentially cut one of these Mana Rocks. Oh, that's some sleepies. Sorry if I just inflicted a yawn on y'all. I know there's Altar's Reap, there's these ones. All of these, the Mogus, they're called Soul Reaper of Mogus and Spark Harvester. Maybe those are better. Those Merciless Resolve. This one actually allows us to sack a land. It's kind of interesting. This is a new one that I'm excited about, Gibbering Barricade. Particularly because it's 4 toughness in black. It gains us life and draws cards, but it's also a defender. And you might be saying, Ryan, why would we want it to be defender? Well, this is why. Shield Wall Sentinel allows us to search for a creature with defender and put it into our hand. It's a tutor card. And there are other creatures with defender that are good in black, namely Cemetery Gate, which is a 3 mana 0/5 pro black, which means that if you have this on the field, you can perpetually maintain Pestilence in play. It's really powerful. So even in a mono black deck, you could have Cemetery Gate, and you could have Gibbering Barricade, and have two good targets for that. Okay. I don't know that we're going to play that in this deck, but that's still a fun thought. I do love the idea of Crypt Lurker, but it's a bit mana intensive. We could play the Merciless Resolve type stuff. I do like Soul Reaper of Mogus, so I like Spark Reaper too. But it's already a lot of sacrifice, so I don't know that we need more. I do like that they gain us life, though. That is nice. Maybe that's better. Oh. Morgana said that if Tortured Existence wasn't in this deck, that they would riot. And I think that they're right to want to see this in the deck. I recently saw a game with Zhao Huodun, the 4-mana Horsemanship Commander that can return a black card from the graveyard by sacrificing. It's a combo deck made by Nate Diggity. And Tortured Existence in that deck, he had Monarch and Initiative, I believe, or maybe it was just one of them. And he was just looping his Fleshbag Marauder over and over and over and over again. And we couldn't ever hit him to like take the Monarch or the Initiative back. And it was a very scary place to be in. We didn't end up losing to him. Somebody else managed to combo off, but Tortured Existence is really powerful in this deck. You could reuse a Gary, all of our sacrifice outlets. I admit that I really would recursion. I would really like to have more stuff to bring things back from our graveyard. Seven cards to cut. So Dig Up the Body. Derek says, what do you think of Dig Up the Body? Let's go find it. Dig Up the Body is actually a pretty powerful spell. And the reason it is powerful... Oh, it's got Casualty! Oh! That's kind of genius, Derek. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about Dig Up the Body. So Dig Up the Body is interesting because when cards have mill 2 cards and then do something, like that card Summon Undead, which is mill 3 and then return a card from the graveyard to the battlefield, a creature card. Dig Up the Body says mill 2, then return a creature card from the graveyard to your hand. And the reason this is so good is because your opponent doesn't get a chance to react to the things that are milled. So if you go to cast Dig Up the Body, they have to like exile a thing first, but you're gonna mill, and then you're gonna return a creature from your graveyard to your hand. So that means that there's no targeting yet. It's just gonna be mill 2 and then choose one of those things and bring it back. So there's no way to really beat this unless you completely exile the graveyard and then the mill 2 happens and there's no creature. The Casualty is also really good in this. Derek says, card is incredible everywhere. Better here, I think. Yep, I agree. It's actually insane here. Because not only do we just like get it back, but we could get back like 2 other things and then just send it to the command zone. Fly Jump, run Dig Up the Body in my Mike and Trike deck. Mike and Trike, you'll have to clarify for me what commanders that is. Derek says, I generally really like instant speed recursion. Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. Like, and luckily in black, like our recursion is insane. It's most of it's instant speed, like Grim Harvest, Death Denied, Reaping the Graves. It's like this. It's really flexible. Corpse Churn. Yep. Corpse Churn, Forever Young. I think Forever Young might be sorcery speed, but there's a whole bunch of effects like that. I think Dig Up the Body is probably as good as it gets, though, in this particular deck. And Casualty is as a cost as well. As you cast the spell, you may sack a creature. Micaeus, the Unhallowed Infinite combo. Oh, very cool. Yeah. So Dig Up the Body, very good card. Yeah, that's such a good recommendation. This is exactly why I do my streams. It's in part because I don't know everything, can't remember everything. And also because chat just so often has amazing recommendations. Man, I cannot wait for the turn where I go Corpse Augur into Innocent Blood. Like, how metal is that? Like, I go and draw 3 cards, and you lose a creature. Wait, what is this emoji? Derek, what is this emoji? Is that oh, it's a thumbs up. It looks like a handful of magic cards. That's what I love. Okay. Ooh, Bone Splinter. Bone Shards, too. Ooh. Eaten Alive. Culling the Weak. Whoa. Chat. Oh, no. Wait. These cards are nuts in this deck. Right? It's like 1 mana, kill something, sack the commander as an additional cost. Oh my god. Culling? Yeah, culling just like pays for the mana cost. Ew. I'm gonna... let's... Okay. This isn't the smooth brain that I promised you all. Oh no, there's so many more. But this is like the good thing to do. Like, now these cards, we have to remember, these cards are, oh my god, there's so many of them. Oh, geez. Oh, Tendrils of Despair. Oh, God. Look at these cards. This is nuts. Oh, man, that's so brutal. Like, the value on that, like 5 mana, somebody discards 2, I draw 3. Okay. The only thing is that we should keep in mind that this is like, we might be getting a little lost in the sauce here. And that is that these cards require the commander for them to work. Yeah, fair bit worse than instant. I fully agree. I think that being said, though, well, okay, so let's think about it this way. With Corpse Augur, when we have Corpse Augur out, we do not need a way to sacrifice it for it to be good. If we have it out, it's a 4-power creature that dies to a lot of sweepers, which means that people may choose not to they may choose not to attack into us if they don't want to give us cards, right? And so even if we don't have a sacrifice, Corpse Augur is going to be good in that way. And if we do, then we resolve Corpse Augur. There's no ETB or anything, so we immediately get priority to cast. Once it resolves, we get priority to cast the next thing. And then these cards here, like Bone Shards, I think this one does not make the cut. And then these cards, we can immediately cast them. Man, some of these exile too, like Eaten Alive exiles. Let's face it, people will never want to spend resources removing Auger. Yeah, yeah. I like in what world are they going to do that? Maybe the world is that a relic goes off and then somebody takes the opportunity to kill Auger so that we don't draw cards off of it or something, but I don't know. Like it's just awkward like killing Auger. I don't know. Does not seem like a thing. I think Eaten Alive is actually good enough because it actually exiles a creature. So I think I probably will play that. Damn. Culling the Weak also seems just like so strong, right? Like Auger for the first time for 4. For 5, we Culling the Weak and we get all 4 of that back. And then we draw the cards that we then get to cast with the 4 mana that we sacked. Seems, I don't know. Am I lost in the sauce here? Thinking that these sacrifice effects are like even competitive? I just got really excited when I thought of them, and I not even close, Derek says. Huh. I mean, here's the other thing is like, look at all these creatures under 3 mana. You know, like, yeah, Eaten Alive and Culling are good. Maybe the other ones don't make this thing. Culling is insane in a lot of decks, yeah. Derek says, so not even close. I think Eaten Alive and Culling are great. Fly June saying Culling is insane in a lot of decks. I agree. Culling the Weak is like, you know, this is like a staple ritual in like every Rogue Rack deck ever made. The rest are middling but solid. Yeah. Okay. So maybe we don't go full. Maybe we don't go full YOLO on this one, and maybe we just do the best ones. So Eaten Alive and Culling the Weak. And then these ones here can go into considering. Yeah, Culling the Weak's very strong, for sure. All right, I am going to take a moment to refill my water and go use the toilet. I will be right back. You all are welcome to do the same, of course. Make sure to drink lots of water. And I'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back, folks. I want to take a moment. Thank you all for being here. This has been really fun. I appreciate you all coming out to the stream today, and of course, contributing all that you have to the deck. And yeah, let your friends know about the channel and about the content. I am going to be moving probably to twice a week streaming. If you have friends of yours who think that they might enjoy this format of content and also this format as a whole, feel free to let them know about the tryhards and about the common connoisseurs. We are making content for this community to expand awareness about this amazing format and just show our passion for it. I think it's one of the best ways to play Magic at a budget level in a really competitive way. And I'm really passionate about accessibility in Magic, having been at times unable to afford the game the way that I wanted to play at the power level I wanted to play. So yeah, let them know. Also, if you haven't already, make sure to leave a like. If you want to see more of this, subscribe. You can hit the little bell icon if you do want to be notified about our videos. We're making content on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays right now. And so, yeah, that's a great way to do it. And I'll always be posting these live streams ahead of time, about like two days ahead of time. And you can always go into the bottom left if you find the video, bottom left on your desktop, and click the little bell on just that video. And it won't notify you for all of our videos. It'll just notify you for that particular live stream. And so you can go in and you can click that thing and it'll tell you on your phone and on your computer when it is that we're going live for that specific live stream. So that's a really good way to keep kind of appraised of what we're doing if you are enjoying this. And also in the future, we do currently have a Patreon as well. And I don't have the link for it right now, but if at any point you feel compelled and you like this content and you want to see more of it, Clay and I aren't looking to do this as a job. We're simply looking to kind of value our time and our experience and make sure that we can continue to do this and onto the future. Adgan BBQ, I've been diving into cPDH, jumped in on Slimefoot the other day, hell yeah. And the long form deck building, the explanation, maybe jump into this one too. Adgan, thank you so much for the positive feedback on that. It really helps to know that what we're doing works. And I'm glad you enjoyed that. We actually transitioned, I transitioned from doing recorded videos with this into doing ones with chat because I thought, man, this is like a missed opportunity to engage with the community and also have the community feel like they're engaging with the decks that we create together. And I think that's awesome. These decks come out so much better when chat is involved. I remember I made Ojai Exquisite Blade and I recorded an 1.5 hour long video of building it. And by the time I got to the end, I had something that I liked, but it was really hard to know like what it was that I just didn't have any other eyes on it to say that's maybe too cute, or maybe there's a better slot for this, or maybe we have too much of that. And on top of that, I had missed an incredible number of staples. And it just comes from the nature of like recording and, you know, not having like an encyclopedic knowledge at every single moment when you're sort of under the gun of trying to record something for content. So like in my Ojai deck, I did not have Candlekeep Sage, you know, which is just like, it's such a broken card in that deck. And I think I was missing like Pegasus Guardian, which is the new flicker for 2. So anyways, what I'm trying to impress upon you all is that this format is much more compelling for me, and I'm glad you enjoy it, BBQ. And yeah, really appreciate you all showing up. Enough of the self-promotion and gratitude, though. Let's get back into it. We've got 10 more cards to cut. One thing I wanted to ask about, Derek, if you're still in chat, was with Dig Up the Body. Is a creature, when it dies, already in the graveyard when the death trigger happens? So with Corpse Augur, so like Corpse Augur and Dig Up the Body, how is that interaction going to work? Like, let's do a scenario. If we have 2 creatures in the graveyard and we have Corpse Augur in play and we cast Dig Up the Body and we casualty it for 1, when we so when we casualty it for 1, we're going to sacrifice Corpse Augur, and 2 mills are going to happen, right? But the mills will happen after Corpse Augur there's a death trigger, right? So the death trigger will happen first before the cards are milled. Is that correct? Which means that Corpse Augur would see itself and the other 2 creatures and draw 3, right? Trigger on the stack, yeah. Yeah. Wow, Dig Up the Body is so good in this deck. It's not as good as it could have been, right? No, yeah, I mean, that makes sense, right? The death trigger is like, it's an additional cost. So the cost is happening, it's killing the creature. The creature is then having a death trigger, and all that's happening before you mill and before you return. Yeah, Sink Sack is part of, yeah, exactly. Okay. So in that case, it can see itself, which is great. Okay. And then you can get those creatures back. Man, that's so powerful. You could even get the Corpse Augur back. Like, Dig Up the Body. Wow. So, okay, so imagine this. You get back Corpse Augur and something else. You mill 4. If you cast Corpse Augur again and you have the way to sacrifice those things, say like the other creature... Okay, say you have 12 mana in some like magical Christmas land or more. Do we look at the rest of the exploit creatures? I want to come back to that exploit thing, but let me just finish this thought too. So with the Slum Reaper, so say there's a Fleshbag Marauder in the graveyard and some other creature. We cast Corpse Augur, or let's say Corpse Augur is in play. We cast Dig Up the Body and we casualty. Corpse Augur goes into the graveyard and it's going to see 3 creatures. You draw 3. Then we're going to mill 2. And then we're going to return our Corpse Augur. And then we're going to mill 2. And we're going to return our Slum Reaper. Then we recast our Corpse Augur and then recast our Slum Reaper. And perhaps the 4 cards that we milled are more creatures. So Dig Up the Body is cracked. Wow. Nuts. Okay. So, Derek, I kind of jumped in towards the middle, but how do we did we look at the rest of the exploit creatures? And yeah, Dig is such a deep card and has insane play here. I'll tell you who's going to have just like a raw card boner for this right now is Noyark. Somebody let Noyark know that we talked for like 20 minutes about Dig Up the Body. You won't be able to handle it. No, mill 2, return creature, mill 2, return creature, then Augur resolves. Wait, what? No way, Derek. Wait, really? Okay. So if the mill is happening... Oh man, this is breaking my brain. I think the TLDR on this, the Spark Notes, is that it's good and that we're going to figure it out when we cast it, but we know it's good. We know it's good. But I don't think that there's a window for it to resolve before the spell goes on the stack. The main thing is, though, is that the milling is potentially going to put more creatures in our graveyard to replace the ones that we brought back. So, yeah, it's good. It's really good. Okay, exploit, though. Like, there's Kasali Sadist. There's Mind Leech Ghoul. Mind Leech Ghoul is interesting. Huh. Whoa. Oh my god. Oh, what? Okay. All right, so the smooth brain chat that I promised everybody, the smooth brain deck building exercise today just got hard. Silumgar Scavenger is even good. Yeah, the 5/4 menace that kills a thing, as well as the Silumgar's Butcher. Derek ruined the stream. You know what? For that, Derek, you get the pinned comment as punishment for your crimes. Okay. Okay, so first of all, Silumgar's Butcher is insane. Why haven't I been playing this card? Oh, these cards are all so good. I don't... Mind Leech School might not make it. Mind Leech School might not make it. I gotta say, I really, really like the Silumgar Scavenger. It might seem kind of weird, but the fact that it's a 3/4 flyer is like pretty good, and like it's gonna grow too. Like 4 toughness, evasive, black creature that grows strong, you know. Derek says, Ghoul is good for curve considerations at best. Nah, Scavenger is easy to underrate. Yeah. Gets haste. Yeah, the haste is insane. Like, haste and evasion in this format right now is like, yeah, like nobody's going to be ready for you to like swoop out with this Silumgar Scavenger and regain the initiative in the haste, like or initiative in the Monarch, or just kill somebody or whatever it is. Like it's really good. Most commanders are fairly cheap, so I feel like Loathsome Curator is actually going to kill something. Man, Loathsome Curator is gas. 5 mana, 5/4 menace that kills something when it comes into play. Okay, well, shit. Here we are. Like every single one of these, I think Sadist doesn't make it because it's target. And Mind Leech School, I like that it's a discard effect. It does exile a card from their hand. And I think that's why we're not going to play it. Because exiling a creature from their hand means that it doesn't feed. All right, we're going to throw this one in considering. Okay, now we're back up to 114. Great. Well, these cards, though, that we're talking about are actually, like, highly synergistic. So I'm kind of happy about that. Maybe we remove something like... God, Butcher is so dope. I can't wait to sacrifice some of this small stuff. Yeah. Drop Blood Pact. Yeah. Yep. Blood Pact out, Vulturous Aven in. Yeah, I think that we're probably like it's quite possible that we're playing too much card advantage in this case. Like Pointed Discussion could come out, even Read the Bones. I know these are very good, but like look at what we're trying to do, right? Like Corpse Augur draws more cards than any of these. Like at base, it probably draws at least 2 cards, right? It's going to see itself and one other card in your graveyard, and that's 2, right? Like, and that's 4 mana, but like, yeah. I like Siphon Mind. It's just like such a powerful spell. Silumgar Scavenger, man. Maybe Rottide Garganta doesn't make the cut. I like Rottide, but Maybe those are better than a Static Awakener. Yeah. I really, really like Gargantua. And I will say Gargantua deck has a lot of... So yeah, just to finish that thought, First Sphere Gargantua has a lot of equity in that we can sack it to other things too. Like the Unearth is good that way. You know, we can sacrifice it to... Like if we unearth it, then we can like sack it to Silumgar's Butcher or to the Curator or to a Volturous Haven. But again, we're talking about like a 6 mana card here. Yeah, he's a Gargler. Okay, so deck has a ton of opponent discard. It's kind of a win con just having cards versus no one else having cards. Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, it's been really interesting to see the conversation happening around this. There have been people who've been like upset about like win con-less decks. And like the reality is that like it's entirely possible that in a deck like this, you just kill people with like random bullshit. And that's okay. You know, it's like perfectly fine if people are just dying to like the Chain Devil, the Diregraph Scavenger, and the Underdark Explorer that you have. Like that's okay. That is fine. You do not need to have a combo in your deck for it to be good. And I think that creating massive resource disparity with initiative, monarch, sweepers, edicts, discard, mass removal, and just a ton of card draw is like, yeah, value win. Like, yeah, try to resolve your thing. I've got three kill spells in hand. Like, okay. Derek recommending First Sphere Garganta be cut. Rotting Rats is better off if that's the goal, I think. People always fail to consider the factor that in the random damage that naturally happens throughout the game, value win is a win from Fly Jump. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I know this in my heart because that's how I've won games in PDH for like the entirety of the time I've played it. It's just like incremental value. You know, you grind it out. And look, like, you know, if you're in a pod and, you know, your pod has already taken like 2 hits from a Dargo or something with a Ketis in play, like you don't have that much work to do. Like people used to win in Modern with Snapcaster Mage all the time. Legacy too. Y'all are making me thirsty. Okay. So, click into the deck, and let's start making some hard cuts. All right. Let's get real honest with ourselves about what is and isn't going to work. I haven't played with Horror or Slayer in a cPDH deck before, and I think in this meta right now, these are going to be disgusting. Like, I'm surprised that I haven't been playing with shadow creatures. I think those are the 2 best ones because they're just 2 for 2. Yeah, those feel like the best ones. Maybe this Dothy Marauder for 3, but again, I don't think that's necessary. Dothy Mercenary would be really funny because you just like pump a bunch of mana into it and clap somebody. I think Slayer has been historically pretty underrated. Premium aggressive creature, yeah, totally. And look, like also like it's double black pip. It's great. Like this card is damn. I'm gonna be getting into making YouTube shorts here pretty soon, and the series that I'm gonna do is a long series on underplayed cards, and I gotta add Dothy Horror and Dothy Slayer, both of them are good. Unblockable 2/2s, right? I mean, in that same vein, we could also be looking at like Changeling Outcast, which would be really funny. You know, that thing is actually unblockable. And shadow creatures can block, but, you know, not really ever. But like, yeah, like I could totally see a game where, yeah, you get one of these things and you're able to slip in and grab the initiative of the Monarch and then just turtle up. Yeah, Trespasser Ill Core is the one that, or yeah, Ilvec. Yep, yep, yep. Good Madness Enabler. Okay, 10 cards to cut. Okay, here's the question. I really hate this because I think cranial plating is amazing. Like we have 16 artifacts in the deck, but like cranial plating seems busted. I don't know. I can't cut that card. I don't know that I can cut that. We could cut Nihil Spellbomb and just go down to Bajukabog and Honored Heirloom, but I feel like 3 is probably pretty good. This life gain here is not something that I want to really touch either. Don't need plating, Derek says. Yeah, we don't need it. We don't need it. Doesn't mean I don't want it. I do want it. Okay. So these expensive removal spells are sorcery speed. Like, what do they come in for? Do we cut something like Cast Down and Doomblade? Which are actually like removal spells that I usually add. Like I'm not super high on these in general. Like Cast Down not killing legends is a thing, and Doomblade not killing black things is very much a thing. Yeah, and there could even be an argument for, I don't know, Relic seems shitty because we don't really want to exile all graveyards. We still want to have the Corpse Augur there. I mean, alternatively, instead of Nihil, we could be running Fairy Macabre, but like, yeah, I think Cast Down is going to come out and Doomblade is going to come out. We could even consider Feed the Swarm. Feed the Swarm is a really good card, but I just don't think, like, what are the odds? Like, what are the odds that people oubliette our Corpse Augur? Like, let's be real about that. Like, what are the chances that someone kills our Corpse Augur with oubliette? 5%? I'm just trying to think, like, what heinous pod exists where somebody's like has such hate in their heart that they kill our Corpse Augur with oubliette. I mean, and look, here's the other thing. We have so many sacrifice effects that Corpse Augur should never be exposed to oubliette. That's actually the real answer. It's kind of like Zada. People say, oh, like, you know, ban oubliette because, you know, Zada has absolutely no way to deal with an oubliette. And the reality is that, like, when you're going off, like, first of all, you should only ever play Zada when you're going off. You never just run out of value Zada. There's no such thing. Like, you play your Zada 2 combo off, and like during that combo turn, somebody's going to kill your Zada, and it's going to be all the stuff you do on the stack that, like while it's dying, that eventually, you know, stack clears, Zada dies, you've drawn 70 cards, and your stuff is just absolutely huge. So yeah, I don't think that Feed the Swarm is necessary. It is unconditional, but the life loss is like actually kind of a big deal in this deck. Like, we can't fuck around too much with this. Like, we do have some good life gain here, and I think that the extort will go a long ways to fixing that for us. You know, we could also consider playing Corrupt and Tendrils of Corruption. Audacious Thief seems unimpressive to me in this shell. So Derek, talk to me about that. I guess it takes like 2 turns for it to be as good. It takes 2 turns for it to be better, or 3 turns for it to be better than Phyrex Rager. Yeah, Corrupt seems like a win condition. Like, could you imagine a game where we just like have 12 swamps in play and we're just like, how many cards are we expecting to draw with it? There's a 3-mana 2/2. That's a good question. Yeah. So like Audacious Thief is better in a deck that can make this hard to block. So Audacious Thief actually should be in Rilsa Rail Kingpin, but not here maybe. Okay. I think that we're gonna have more ways to offset this life gain or this life loss. So let's just add these in here while we're at it too. These are gonna go removal and removal. Technically, Corrupt is removal. You can hit any target. God, that white border just stings my eyes. Got to use the sick Corrupt alt art. Oh. Okay. So 8 cards to cut. So like with all this sacrifice now, is a Static Awakener good? Like we added like removal, where we're like attaching like a beefy body that also removes something. A Static Awakener is kind of nice because we can like run it out there ahead of time, and then when it arrives, then we can sacrifice it right away, which seems really good. And it's just adding another like draw. It's like +1 draw onto it. I think that's good. And a Static Awakener turning into a 4/4 is like no joke. I think this is both the right thing to do and the most flavorful thing to do. Okay, so Gurmag Angler, great black card. Is this actually what we want to be doing though? Like exiling our own stuff? Like we don't even fill our graveyard with Evolving Wilds or with anything like that. Like Gurmag Angler seems weird. We have 25 instants and sorceries currently, which are pretty much the only thing going into the graveyard other than creatures that die. But like we don't want to eat. Yeah. This is not correct. Yeah. Yeah. It actively harms us and our desire to recur things. This is like in some ways we are a graveyard deck. So yeah, we have lots of beefy things. We got Chunguses. Like Loathsome Curator is she a thick gal. 5/4 menace. This woman's getting her meat and potatoes. And Silumgar's Butcher he's a big boy. Look at him. Yeah. Plus the art on that is so cool. Dude's like waist deep in bloody water with like a halberd stuck through his stomach. That's gnarly. Wait, I gotta look closer at this. Oh yeah. That is so sick. Yeah, I'm into it. I'm not I like incidental flavor. I don't usually build decks around it, but I think that's really cool. And I've always really liked Vulturous Haven. This was a really good find. Okay. So we're down to cuts. Maybe it is cranial plating. It feels like such a savage blow because it's just like one card. And it's like, can't we find space for cranial plating? I mean, cranial plating is so great. It's like just really ends games, you know? Very good. Yeah, return to action is interesting too. Um, I don't think we're going to play any of the protection spells. Basically, the way that works with the protection spells is that, and I've seen this with Passageway Seer, is that you really need to choose what it is you're going to deck is going to do. All right, so we're gonna divert for a moment just to talk about this because this is an important like lesson we can all kind of see here. So this is Passageway Seer. This is my initiative deck. Nate Diggity also has a version of this too. I was working on Real Surreal. I was just really active in playing with Real Surreal, and then he brought up Passageway Seer and started playing it, and I was impressed with that too. So I started playing this, and Passageway Seer, you know, to like fit in the black stacks effects, which we haven't even included yet. You know, these effects that punish things for entering into the battlefield, meaning that your opponents like can't combo off if they're doing infinite ETB stuff, which let's be honest, that's most of that's most of the kill stuff. Most of the combos in the format rely on infinite ETBs. So like we haven't even put this in here yet. If you want, you know, like if you want a healthy edict section, sweeper section, if you want to add the stacks and some life gain, it actually usually means that you need to cut the discard, the little discard, which means Burglar Rats, Virus Beetle, and Elder Fang Disciple. You can see that that's missing here. That was the price of me having like a more well-rounded deck. You know? Like if you want to have like a good amount of all the fundamentals. And the reason I mentioned that is because Nate Diggity's build has four protection spells for the Passageway Seer, which basically they're just going to re-trigger the initiative. So somebody goes to kill your Passageway Seer, and a lot of times it's really big, and you just, you know, use one of those effects on it: Undying Evil, Undying Malice, Feign Death, that kind of stuff. And then it comes back and you gain the initiative again. You venture again, and that is good. I like that. I'm taking a different route in experimenting with this, with the goal of just trying out all the stuff there is to do in this mono black shell. So that's what I mean by like return to action won't have a home in this one, because personally I prefer the other things we can play over the protection. And I also don't think much of our stuff is actually worth protecting. Like we just play another thing, right? Play another creature. 14 removal spells. Hokey smokes, Bullwinkle. That is a lot. Man, we are at, see, like you can see, like we could get down right now. If we took these three out, we could get right down to 104. The thing is that in this deck, we really like this here because we're playing even more edicts. We could cut Syndicate Enforcer, which is good, but it is also bad. Extort is so much life. If we get 2 triggers, it's, you know, six life that we gain. That's pretty nuts. I like Diregraph Scavenger. This is also Graveyard Hate. I forgot to mention that. Oh, our music is has halted. Let's get that music going again. If anything like that happens in the future, you guys just feel free to let me know if the music has gone quiet or if my mic has gone dark or anything like that. If it's quiet, that means something has gone wrong. I want to let you all know too that the audio that I'm using as well is royalty-free, copyright-safe music from White Bat Studio, who offers this stuff for people to use. You'll see their little icon here in the let's see, yeah, in the top there. You'll be able to see that little icon right up at the top. Okay, deck tech. Back to deck tech. All right. Check, check, check. There we go. Cool. Sweet. Okay, so yeah, 7 cards we got to cut. I like our ramp package. 10 is a healthy number. We're not going to be stuck on mana. So it seems like there's stuff that's got to come out, like Syndicate Enforcer. So funny, Syndicate Enforcer is almost always my cut. It's a shame. Dig Up the Body is fucking cracked. So no. House Guard is really good in this deck. It's probably removal spells. Unnerve. Like we have enough redundancy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can feel Unnerve. The other ones like do other things like, well, okay, so let's be real here. Like, is Tassiger's Cruelty something we can do? It feels weird to consider cutting T Cruelty for instead of like Burglar Rat or like Unnerve instead of Elderfang Disciple. But like the reality is that we need our graveyard sometimes. And we don't really fuel it that well. Like we don't fuel our graveyard well at all. The things that we add into our graveyard are actually things like this, right? That we want to reuse. So yeah, maybe, so okay, so T Cruelty is 6. So if you exiled 3 things, yeah, so if we cast it for 3 mana, I mean it's so high value. Even like 4 mana for 6 cards is really good. But I think T Cruelty can stay. I think it can stay. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think it's fine. Okay, so other stuff that we have that could go. Okay, what about our sacrificers? Is there anything here that is just not good enough? It kind of looks like it's all great. Is Ashnod's Altar great? Ashnod's Altar seems great. It specifically only works with our commander. Derek, when you see, I think it's a possible cut in light of nothing really jumping out. Is that for Ashnod's Altar, you mean? Ashnod's Altar is essentially discounting the cost of our commander to 2. In a sense that we have to have 4, but we're going to get 2 colorless back, which is good. It's really good. Oh, T Cruelty. Yeah. I just love the idea of the discard, really working well with the Corpse Augur, giving us other choices for things that we can pick out of the graveyard. It just seems so good. It seems so good. And Culling the Weak is just bonkers, right? Like makes our dude only cost 1 mana. It's busto. We wouldn't cut this. No. Nope. Okay. That hurts. I mean, I mean, so is this another example though where so maybe this is an instance where the bodies that Burglar Rat and Elderfang Disciple and Virus Beetle and even Liliana Spectre offer are valuable in other ways that we care about that make them more useful for Tassigur's Cruelty? Because I think that there's like a choice here, right? We could keep the creature discard that helps our edicts be better, or we could keep our like Unnerve and Cruelty, which actually hit their hand harder. It is around other people discarding. It's only one mechanism though, right? We have sweepers, we have removal, we have discard. Other people's stuff are dying for other reasons too. So, you know, it's amazing. I just want to express, it's amazing that we're in mono black and it's still this hard to make cuts. You can always delve away non-creature cards, which the deck has a fair amount of. Yeah, I agree with that, Fly Jump. I think that that like what we have here is a very refined selection of common cardboard. And the question just is, what 5 cards do we cut? Like, what do we just simply not have room for? So we you know, I just flippantly added Tendrils of Corruption and Corrupt. Like, Corrupt in particular seems just so gas. And it's a card that I've wanted to play in my Passageway Seer deck too. Because you just like top deck it mid or late game and you just end the game right then and there. Right, you just literally kill somebody, splat, dead, bang. Maybe cut 1 land since you're drawing so much that has higher odds of getting a land each turn. I think cutting a land or artifact right now would be a mistake. I'm starting to become quite the boomer. I just did turn 31, so I guess I get to have like some mid-boomer vibes of like, save for your pension and your retirement and your future. As in, play 35 lands. Like, your mid-range deck should have 35 lands. I think Passageway Seer, because the initiative gets you a land, could do less. But still, like, the value of having just a functional game plan is so huge. It's just, maybe Underworld Charger goes. This card is, oh dude, we can't support this card. This is exiling cards from our graveyard. No way. Gone. Get out. Oh man. Yeah, it's pretty mana hungry. I see where you're coming from, Fly. But I just think 35 is like the sweet spot. And there's some math around that. 35 is like, is when you get above, is when your odds are most likely to draw more than 2 lands in a hand. And we will probably want 3 lands in a hand. Yeah, Charger was definitely the pick. I did not see that before. Yeah, 34, 35, 36 is about right. Yep, and in the decks where I run 34, I find myself wishing I had 101 cards so that I could add a land in. That's one of the things that Reed Duke talks about in his articles, is that Magic is, you know, a game of chance and skill. But it's a game of chance in that, like, if you want to win a big tournament, you need to create the conditions for which you can get lucky. And you can only get lucky if your deck functions and has enough lands. So he was, you know, it's one of the things he advocates for, is to play 1 more land than you think you're going to need. Or more, depending on the deck. He also plays a lot of formats where there's man lands. And so you can actually shave on some action and just add man lands in those cases, like Faceless Haven type stuff, Mutavault. But this is a different context. We do not have those yet. But Watsy, if you hear me out there in the ether, downshift Treetop Village, please. I want that in this format. Tendrils of Corruption could go. Maybe we just want to have Corrupt. Maybe Corrupt is the one big life gain thing we have alongside Gary, and then the rest are like incremental. I do like that Tendrils of Corruption actually kills a creature at instant speed, whereas Corrupt is only gonna hit play. Well, no, Corrupt hits players, creatures or players, but it's sorcery speed. So like Gray Merchant, Corrupt, Cranial Plating, these all fit into closer, like a closer category. Like, how do we close the game out? Tendrils. Okay. So we're still sitting at 3 sweepers, 9 with the edicts, and then so 22 removal spells, which is great. That's a good number. I think we could even go down to yeah, 22. Maybe we go down. Maybe this is... I really like these exploit cards. I hope that they don't prove to be too cute, because the bodies they're attached to are good. Especially Loathsome Curator. Boy, this is brutal. I think we would need to test and find if we need the extra life from Tendrils, but it's a find cut here. Yeah. I just think that there's this chance that if we get on the back foot with this deck with somebody clapping us, that like Corpse Augur could become a dead thing if we don't have like sufficient life gain to really support it. But like, that said, you land like today, I played Falconwrath Noble, and then I played a Rottide Garganta, and it was like a 4-point life swing. You know, it's like, it works really well with this. A Falconwrath Noble with like an Evankar's Justice also does the trick. You gain a ton of life, even with the damage you take. Bone Picker seems like it's going to be on like most of the time. The Monarch and the Initiative is all great. These draw spells are great. Only the best stuff. Brutal. 3 more cards. Okay, like if we were to smooth brain this, we could go Cranial Plating, Ashnod's Altar. It's like I feel like it's cutting like some really good cards so that we can but to avoid cutting like meat and potatoes cards. You know what I mean? I would not drop any more creatures since you need them to sack to your commander benefits and commander benefits. We do have 27 of them. This is more creatures than I've played in any deck since Garna. Bloodfist of Keld. Yeah, T-Cruelty. All right. You know what? We're all about sacrificing sacred cows. It's okay if it's gotta go. It is okay. It is just fine. You know, like all this talk about like cards like this deck has a little bit of a different synergistic edge to it, which is that like we actually do value the bodies. There's reasons we want the bodies in play. And so T-Cruelty, not only bringing stuff out of our graveyard and exiling it, but also not being a body, is like, I think what kills it a little bit. Now that being said, like, you know, there's cards like Rotting Rats, which we talked about earlier, you know, which actually give 2 bodies and 2 discards. It does hit us as well. But like that actually has perhaps some synergy, you know. We like pitch some stuff into the graveyard and we can like get it back later, and we're going to draw cards off Corpse Augur, and we're going to get 2 triggers for stuff like Eaten Alive and for Loathsome Curator, Silumgar's Butcher. Like that's pretty cool. And we could even, you know, we could even make an argument that maybe we want the discard over the draw. So we could play, like, we could cut Dusk Legion Zealot and play Rotting Rats. There's a lot of ways that works in our favor, you know? Like, we could unearth the Rotting Rats, and with the trigger on the stack, we could cast a Village Rites and draw 2 off of it, and then just discard a land. Yeah, like, I think that's... Rotting Rats actually does have a home here. Where did it go? Oh, here. And, you know, maybe the other... you know, the other thing we could consider, too, is, like, cut Phyrexian Rager for Dusk Legion Zealot for mana efficiency reasons. Just for a cheaper body. Like, Phyrexian Rager, like, I won't blink to sacrifice a Phyrexian Rager to a Chain Devil in the same way that I wouldn't for a Dusk Legion Zealot. Yeah, I think we're going to do that, actually. We're going to go... Yeah. This is the way, for sure. It's so bizarre, but like it's heresy. I just like Siphon Mind is such a powerful card, but like this whole kick of like, you know, we want to have a body is part of what I'm thinking about there. Damn, we are so close. It always gets so hard. It's like you could compress, like there's a logarithmic relationship between the amount of like how far into the deck we are and how much time it takes to get to like 100 cards. The last 5 cuts are so tough. They're so difficult. No heresy. It's the new dogma. Well, you know, I'm all about it. I have a friend of mine and I who kind of pioneered, you know, building blue decks without Ponder, Preordain, and Brainstorm in them. Because these decks wanted to go into the late game and we wanted just like bigger value spells. So like I'm about it. I'm about slaughtering some sacred cows. I wonder if okay, we're gonna do something else here. We're gonna cut Miracle's Edict for Abyssal Gatekeeper. Yeah. Oh, Derek, you're a Jund guy? Dude, a man of taste. A connoisseur of the most metal colors in Magic. Yeah, Gatekeeper, it's another Edict creature we can reuse, right? And we have like 15 ways to trigger it. And so this will be kind of cool. We'll go... yeah, no, I just think that's better. It's better. Might tax our creature base a bit. And it doesn't activate right away, but it'll feel really good with like an Ashnod's Altar in play. It's a little more card negative for us. But like, I don't know. Fuck with me, whatever. 2 cards. Okay, all right. I will say we can cut a rock. Yeah, we're gonna cut a rock. One, two, three, four, five. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we're gonna cut Lantern of Revealing. It hurts me to say so, but we are gonna do that. So the thought here is that Lantern of okay, let's think about this. Lantern of Revealing is 4 mana to activate. Like, is there a world where we wouldn't just spend that? Like, if we needed more cards, that we wouldn't just spend that on our commander or some other thing? I don't think we're ever going to have mana for that. Bonder's Ornament maybe, because Bonder's Ornament's actually drawing a card. But like Lantern, yeah, I just don't think I'm going to end up using it. Bonder's Ornament might not even be used that much either. It might be one of those things where other people draw cards for me, or it kind of like implicitly turns off their Bonder's Ornament. But like, card advantage isn't our problem, right? So we're looking to lose 1 more. You know, I'm about to like take a like a Nerf gun and like, you know, blow this screen up a little bit like this, and then just like thunk, and like see what I hit, and then just cut that card. 4 mana for a 1 1/3 chance at a land is not worth it. Yeah, I agree. Lantern of Revealing is really, really good with the initiative, but like, and it's good for other reasons too. But like, it's best when you're like scrying a lot, you know. So like, if you do have a lot of scry, like, it's good in blue decks because you can like brainstorm, put a land on top, flip it into play. You can do that with any of the cards that scry. You just, or any of the cards that mix up the cards in your hand. You can just put lands on top and then flip them into play, which is good. So yeah, there is value in that. I just don't think it's this deck. Whereas like Network Terminal is really, really low opportunity cost to discard creatures into our graveyard, which is great. If we want a trigger for us. So this last card that we're going to cut is going to be a removal spell. I'm just going to say that. And I don't think it's corrupt. We really do want to have like a good way to end the game. And I think Cranial Plating and Corrupt and Gray Merchant are like our ticket. Yeah, okay, yeah. So, yeah, this is the real talk. And, you know, in all honesty, like, if we're going to choose between art, Complete Disregard is so much cooler than Grotesque Demise. Like, this guy right here, this guy, we returned to the field and found poor Len, every detail of his refinement moment perfectly cast in that awful dust. Yeah. Oh, you're right. Complete Disregard is the better one, isn't it? Yeah, this card is sick. This card is sick. Okay, so we're going to cut Grotesque Demise. And you know what just happened? Chat. Friends. Let's get some fireworks in chat or something. This is like big moment. We did it. We landed. We're there. We have landed on the moon. I promised you all a smooth brain experience today, and instead we crafted a masterpiece, and it hurt. It hurt. My therapist says that through pain and hardship is what you're looking for and what you want. That was hard, and this is cool. This deck is cool. Like, I want to run and play this right now. This is awesome. Like, let's swing this through a couple of playtest rounds. Okay, no black mana. Oh, this is nice. You all can't see it, but... Oh, no, you can. Yeah, you can see it. It's just a little cut off. I'm still working on the interface there to make sure that I can cycle between playtesting and this. And so, anyway, so we'll go, we'll draw a card for turn. Oh, that's so good. Mind Stone. So we're going to go Swamp, draw. Oh, my God. So this time we're going to go into Mind Stone. And then we'll take our turn, and then we'll go Swamp, Virus Beetle into Elderfang Disciple, draw. Ugh, just hitting our land drops too, money. And then, of course, we just go straight into the initiative. And yeah, this is a disgusting hand. Like, and you know, in this deck, the funny thing is that like we might pump up. I'm wondering if we scry or not. We've got so much card advantage that I think we buff it up. So we do Forge on the next go around. And then we go, jeez. Like, okay, so like what are the chances that if we go like Rotting Rats, that at this point somebody has like 2 creatures in their graveyard? But like we don't even need to cast Auger right now. That's the crazy thing. So we just go Rotting Rats. Actually, no. We go Dusk Legion Zealot, draw, see what we get. And then we go Rotting Rats. And I think we just pitch the Bajuka Bog because we don't need this right now. So we go Graveyard. And then we go 1, 2. We already hit our land drop, so we don't need to cast Night's Whisper. We go Dothy Horror. This is like really scary. And then next turn, we probably goad somebody. Oof. See, I'm down with this. Okay, so I think we start off with Night's Whisper, because I think the heuristic here is that we don't cast Corpse Augur until we're like out of cards, right? Like if we've got ways to draw more cards, then we're just going to keep playing them. Yeah, I mean, so I think what we do is we run Falconwrath Noble out, and we hold our Mortuary Mire. And if they counterspell it, which I think is a possibility, or you know, if they kill it, maybe we have to wait a turn. But if they kill it, we Mortuary Mire and we put it back on top. And I think this next go around here, we probably have to lose some creatures to blocks. So let's just say like the table comes at us really hard. Oh, are those creatures in our graveyard? Oh no. And so here's a funny thing. A lot of people don't. Let's see, Jin Star. I have to go. My son drained me to 1 HP. Good night. Jin, thank you for showing up tonight. I think this is your second time here. I really appreciate you coming by, and I'll look forward to catching you in the next stream. That'll be next Monday. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your night. Okay, so a lot of people don't know about this interaction, but yeah, like so good. Yeah, cool. I'd like the initiative back, please. So like, look at that turn. Say the table comes in hard at us. Say we like have to sacrifice all this stuff to hold on to it. We just chump like crazy. Like we are literally about to complete the initiative, and Corpse Augur is going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 off of Reckoner's Bargain. But here's the thing. You know what we did last turn? We put Falconwrath Noble on top with the Mortuary Mire, and we're about to complete the initiative. So we complete the initiative, and this is the trick I want to show you guys. Mortuary Mire. There's the other one is called. It's the 1 green Reclaim. Mortuary Mire, Reclaim, and Witch's Cottage all put a creature back on top of your library. And if you're about to go into the Throne of the Dead 3, that means you can stack the top of your library with exactly what you want. Falconwrath Noble is a black hexproof 5/5 flyer. It just doesn't die. It's like one of the grossest things. It's up there with like flipping Crypt Rats into play or flipping Gary into play. Like like even Bone Picker. But no, we put the Falconwrath into play. There's no question. Yeah, this thing goes right into play. We give it the hexproof counter, and then we draw a card for turn, and then like, okay, this is so gross. But like 1, 2, 3, 4, cast Corpse Augur. Look at our library here. So we've got this, and then we go 1, 2, Reckoner's Bargain. So we sack this. We gain 4. Then sees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things in the graveyard. So we're going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to draw 1, 2. Yeah. And then we go 1, 2 into Thought Vessel. Gas. Yeah, we got to dig up the pot. Okay. All right. Like this is really cool. All right, let's not get too giddy though. Let's try some other hands. Okay, we've got Initiative again. That's great. This is a 2-land hand, no draw. We do have Extort. This is like not as exciting because like if we miss our land drop, we literally do nothing. I don't know if we keep this. The Vicious Battle Rager is what, yeah, like Vicious Battle Rager, if we do hit our lands, then we will have all of our lands and it won't matter. But yeah, I think we throw this one back. Oh, like this is infinitely better, right? Like Mold of 7 has Sign in Blood and this Disciple. Okay, so we draw for turn. Great pick. So we're gonna go Swamp first because we want our Defile to be online early. Vault of Whispers comes in last because we want to be able to, do like, want to do stuff with it. So we're going to go Elderfang Disciple. Mind Stone is a great draw. So we go 2 for... It's kind of awkward. I mean, it means if we play Mind Stone right now, that means we get to play Loathsome Curator next turn. Yeah. So we play Mind Stone. And then we don't get to play Sign in Blood because of double Black Pip, but that's okay. And we play a Loathsome Curator. And we sacrifice this. It goes to our graveyard. We kill something. We have a 5/4. And this is awesome. This territory we're in now where it's like we can just go Sign in Blood, draw 2, and we just drew like pure gasoline. We go Basilica Screecher, and then I don't think we use our Victim of Night. So Derek says, as a huge card pool wonk, I feel like it feels so good to see cards like Loathsome Curator and Dig Up the Body just be heinous. Yeah, I think they're insane in this deck. Like, and what is opponent gonna do? Did they kill our Corpse Augur on the stack? Like, no. That just doesn't change anything. It just means we sacrifice something else, or maybe we don't. But like, if they kill our Corpse Augur, they're like doing the work for us. I think the only example would be maybe they exile it. Like maybe they Ob Nixilis' Cruelty it. Wait, is this wait? Is this creatures? Wait a second. Hold on. Hold on. This works, right? So no, it is it's a creature. Oh, no. It's this. Okay, so I'm getting wrapped up in Ghoul Caller's Chant and Ghoul Razor, which both say zombie card. It does not specify creature. It says zombie. This says creature card, and all it has is a creature type, but it's not a creature. Yes. Okay. All right. Anyways, I just got excited. Okay, back to playtesting. Okay, this hand seems gas, right? It's great. There we go. One. We don't really do anything super crazy early. The study hall is welcome. I don't know that we sign in blood here, right? Because then we have to discard. We just draw and we do this. I think we still don't do anything. Now we go here, pay 4, gain the monarch. This might be a little dangerous, so maybe we go Dimir House Guard first, and then we draw, and we go I feel like we want to hit our next land drop, right? So we draw, yeah, there we go. Okay. And then we just like pass the turn. Because we really don't want to run out our Thorn and just have somebody take and sit on the monarch. So we do that. And then maybe they go to kill one of them. Say they go to kill our Thorn because it's got Death Touch, and we just go Costly Plunder. And we're gonna draw 2, and we're gonna draw off Monarch. They probably do that during their turn, or end of somebody else's turn, so we wouldn't have to discard the hand size. And then we go. Let's see. Well, we could do this trick. If we still have the Monarch, we go Chain Devil, sacrifice Chain Devil, Mortuary Mire, put it back on top, or we could just go Swamp, Diregraph Scavenger, just to set up some blockers. And we draw. Oof. I always think this is Mind Stone, but alas, it is not. I think we go 1, 2, 3, 4 for Vicious Battle Rager, 1 for Ecstatic Awakener. It is interesting. I will say that, like right here, for example, like instead of doing all this, there's another way to look at this, which is that like we have 1, 2 cards in our graveyard. You know, like I guess I'm looking at these and these feel a little bit awkward to me right now. Like, or this, because we don't have a thing to sacrifice, but it's not about having a thing to sacrifice. It's about our freaking commander, you know? Like you go 1, 1, 2, 3. We're so close to being able to do this and this all in the same turn. Actually, so like these cards work with this. So in a, like we just cast Corpse Augur and then eat and alive it, and then we just draw cards, right? Like just get our cards. But this is illustrating why we need Thought Vessel and why we need Decanter. Is like we're just gonna like, yeah, we could also just keep the Monarch by playing the Commander. That's a really good point. So let's do that, and we'll actually pay 1 for the Study Hall to scry. Ooh, we keep that on top. And then we play out Ecstatic Awakener. I think we just play it. And then we're going to play our Mortuary Mire. It's a little weird that we're doing Mortuary Mire too, but Mortuary Mire is going to come into play untapped, which is nice. So let's do Chain Devil back on top, even though we just scryed. And then we draw. And then we, for Monarch, and then we draw for turn. Yeah, so say we block 2 things. Let's say we block with the Corpse Augur, and we just draw 2. And we're going to get it back. Or I guess we just draw 1, because we don't want to necessarily put it in the graveyard unless we can get it back. Which we can with Witch's Cottage. So let's just say we did that, and we drew 2. Ugh. Holy smokes. Okay, so we get it out of the graveyard, put it back on top of our library. Like, this is crazy. Look at how many cards. Look how many cards we have. What? This is nuts. Absolutely insane. Now, we can't cast our initiative cards because we would... Now, wait. With shuffling, if your commander is in your deck and you shuffle it, can you move the commander to the command zone? Or does that just, like, kind of... Right? Because that's their solution for not having not knowing where your commander is when your commander needs to be different. Don't think so? So this is kind of sus, right? We're going to draw it with Monarch, but when it's changing zones, got it. This is a complicated, it's a complicated series of things. I'm already feeling like the number of cards that Corpse Augur is drawing is so many that, like, we can't deploy all of our spells with the mana that we have. Like this is way more cards than I was expecting. Way more. Way more. Like, what? So what do? We're just like, let everybody know that we have cranial plating and just like spit this thing out there. And then we're like, I don't know, we like 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're like, oh, I forgot we had Dimir Houseguard. We could just sacrifice things to that. This hand is confusing me, and we're gonna just say that's a good hand, and we're gonna move on to the next one. Yeah, I mean, get that bird going with plating. Yeah, I agree. This hand sucks. We're gonna go to 6. Pray for land. Oh, God. Okay, we're gonna go to 5. That's fine. This is a good 5. We bottom these. Draw. Like, I'm not afraid to go to 5. Like, let's be real. This format is so forgiving when it comes to mulligans. Crazy forgiving. Maybe we go 1, 2, make everybody discard, untap, and then we go one, 2, 3, 4, 5 Gargantua. And then we go turn, and then 1, 2, 3 for Decanter, 1, 2, 3, 4 for Thorn, draw a card at end step, draw a card. Like, just run out the other Monarch creature, probably. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Run out the other Monarch creature. Hold up complete disregard. Say we pop something that's coming to get the Monarch, and we have to draw. And then we draw for turn. 1, 2, draw. Oof. Amazing. Okay. So now we kind of want some cards in the graveyard. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Silumgar's Butcher, sacrificing Thorn. And then we pay 1 and we go eaten alive, killing something else, like that. And then we're just like firmly in control of the monarch. Draw, land, and then we go Corpse Augur. This is going to be insane. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to cast Loathsome Curator. And we sacrifice this. And we're going to draw 1, 2, 3. And we're turn 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because we must have missed a land drop. And then we've got Defile up. So, like, I don't know, maybe they've got another creature and we Defile it. And we draw for Monarch. And we draw for turn. And we bring this over. Jeez. Like, we could even do it again. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Corpse Augur. 1, 2, 3, 4. Vulturous Aven. What the fuck? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Draw for Monarch. Chat, it's too much. That interaction drew me just so many cards. Yeah, no, exactly. Derek says every one of these hands, as soon as we draw the first batch of 3 cards, everything falls into place. Is Curator good on a Pestilence board? Okay. So we drew for Monarch, draw for turn, and we get our Corrupt. All right, and we have to realize at this point, like, we go 1, 2, 3, we go Fleshbag Marauder. Actually, no. Yeah, we go Fleshbag Marauder, sack it to itself, and we can play Witch's Cottage, put Fleshbag Marauder back on top, tap 1, 2, 3, 4, tap Bonder's Ornament, draw it, and then recast it. And then, yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't know what opponents are supposed to do about this. Right? Like, I mean, how many creatures are there right now? Like, we're at 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we go, you know, this, and it's just there, it's just in play. Like, we don't even need to draw more cards right now. Like, this isn't even correct, right? We just play this. We go and get ourselves a swamp. Bring that into our hand. We like turtle up with like infinity removal. And we're going to try and land a Pestilence. So this we're actually going to sandbag. Opal Palace is starting to look kind of weird. I guess Opal Palace is good when you want to use the Corpse Augur to win, right? Like if you want to use it as an attacker instead of something that draws you cards, this is when this is great. Because like right now, this would be a 7/5. And then we draw for Monarch. And we probably have to discard some stuff. Right? We drew for turn. Yeah, like this is very clearly working. This is a 5-card hand too. So, you know. Okay. Like this is good too. We draw for turn. And we go... If we go Witch's Cottage first, even though that seems weird, because we really want to hit our 3 for Bonder's Ornament. And then we go 2 on Dothy Horror, 3 for Lily's Spectre, but I think we actually want to go Bonder's Ornament into, I don't know. I don't think we play Innocent Blood here. Innocent Blood's best when we don't have anything in play, so maybe the answer was actually to sandbag this and wait till we had Bonder's Ornament and like Innocent Blood on an empty board with just our opponent's stuff and then play this. Yeah, so like if we did that instead and we go Innocent Blood, and then next turn we go no land, but we go Honored Heirloom into Dothy Horror, and then hopefully we draw land. No land. So maybe we go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. We probably have to sack this now to draw 2, and we didn't get a land. It's kind of sad. Yeah. Yeah. It's all reasonable. I mean, this is good stuff. Good stuff we have here. Probably just go here and here. Cut Innocent Blood for Unearth. I don't think so. I think actually it's the other way around. The reason that we play Innocent Blood and Abyssal Gatekeeper is because we have the cheap stuff. We have cheap bodies that we can just toss away into the graveyard where they're going to eventually draw us cards for Corpse Augur. I think that's what that means. Because if we don't have more bodies, what that means is that we have to sack something we care about, right? Like something good, like maybe a Staunch Throne Guard or, Rot-Tide Garganta, and then it's not very good. Like Innocent Blood is bad when you don't, when the few things you have in play are valuable and important. That would be my thinking around that. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. That hand was like somewhat dysfunctional, but like it still had like a lot of game because it drew mana rocks. Right. Unearth leans more into the exploit half. Yes. Yep. Abyssal Gatekeeper might actually still not be a good fit because it is like taxing our creature base. We're losing another creature other than Abyssal Gatekeeper. And that's like, I don't know if we have that many creatures, but maybe we do. We have a fair number of stuff under 3. This is a great hand. Cards like Sign in Blood make early turns so like awkward in some ways because you like don't want to draw more cards and then like have to discard. It's a pretty brutal sequence though. You go 1, 2, discard. Isn't that fine? Because when our commander comes out, it's just 2 more draw, says Fly. Yeah, I think that is fine. Yeah. With Abyssal Gatekeeper in particular, it's tough. It seems that our creatures that matter really matter, which does put Gatekeeper in an awkward spot. Yeah, but I will say though that Fly has a good point. Like Corpse Augur should be drawing us into just like more good stuff. Like in any game, like we rarely even make it through half of our deck, right? And so if we're seeing like a ton of our deck, then we're going to see a lot more of the stuff that we want to see, like big stuff, So I think it's fine. Here's what I'll say. If Abyssal Gatekeeper looks weird, then we just cut it for Miracle's Edict or Tyrant's Choice. Both very good Mass Edict spells. I think Abyssal Gatekeeper's best home is probably in like a Dargo deck, because as an additional cost to casting Dargo, you just sacrifice the Gatekeeper and there's nothing in play. or you have like a Mog War Marshal in play, and then everybody has to sack something. So you have a built-in way in your command zone to sacrifice it. And so I think that's good, especially if you're thinking about like a Dargo Tor mod where you could like reuse the Abyssal Gatekeeper over and over again, and then you can sack zombies to it. I think that's really good. But, and this is not that home, but I think that it's like another reusable edict, and that's something that we're really interested in. And all of these games that we've playtested so far have been only envisioning that we are targeting our own graveyard with Corpse Augur, if you notice that. Like, all of them have just been our graveyard, but like there, that one game, we went like Edict, Witch's Cottage, Bonder's Ornament, Fleshbag Marauder back into our hand, cast the Fleshbag Marauder, and then we like Eaten Alive to something. So I think this is, Fly says, I think in this deck, given it's based on creatures in graveyard, it's better than a spell-based Edict, but Miracles is better in most decks. Yeah, I think that's a great assessment. Miracles Edict is really powerful, but we have no way to reuse it, and part of why we chose Abyssal Gatekeeper is because it's reusable. And having just one of those reusable effects is so powerful. So good. It's just that it takes a little bit more work to turn on. And that's the part of it I don't know if that's worth. And if not, then we'll just find something else to do with that slot. So our turn 4 here, we go Felwar Stone, and then we go Sign in Blood. Cool. We draw for turn. Like, this is great, man. These exploit creatures feel awesome. It's just like, these are such big bodies. 5/4. It's amazing. So we go let's hit everybody with this. And then we pass turn. I just love how we're hitting our land drops too. It feels really good. I love Liliana's Spectre, but I think in this case here, we just toss it, right? And now we've got like 10 power in play. Oh my god, can you imagine that Falconwrath Noble with the with this? See, like at this point, we could just draw 2 off Corpse, but we don't need to because we have Siphon Mind. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cast this. Hold up the Obnixilus's Cruelty. Let's just say that we have to kill something. So we do. It doesn't trigger this. Draw. Eaten Alive. Looking really good now. Because now we can go... So if there's something we need to kill, then we do Eaten Alive, Corpse Augur. But if not, then we just go Siphon Mind, right? We've got 2 in our own graveyard, but we've also cast this Edict. We've destroyed something. We just killed something with Obnixilus's Cruelty. So let's just say we do Corpse Augur. So we play Corpse Augur. We could also clear the board. Rats for 3. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oof. I'll do you one bigger. I'll do you one bigger. This is sweet. So we go rats. Oh no. We can't do this at the same time. We could do it with the instant speed one. Where we could like activate for 3 and then sack it. We could just do rats for 3. So rats for 3. Like, actually, the way to do this would be, rats for 3. So it's all dead, and then we punch some people, and then we draw, play this, and I think by somebody's like they've had to recover their board, so we play Corpse Augur, and then we kill their one thing with Corpse Augur, and we get 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we play land. into Dusk Legion Zealot. Dude, the amount of cards we are drawing is nuts. Look at this. We just have like this Siphon Mind. I've never had a Siphon Mind sit so long in my hand. Costly Plunder. God. So now we go Silumgar Scavenger, sacking the Dusk Legion Zealot, killing something. Like, the amount of pressure with like cards is crazy here, right? We even have mana to just cast Siphon Mind. 1, 2, 3. Wow. Land into Decanter. This is really good. That Decanter is huge. Now we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Corpse Augur. And then we just go 1, 2. Costly Plunder. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna draw 7 cards. Okay. All right, we've had our fun. We've had our fun. It clearly works. It's so funny. I was getting some hate earlier on in the server from several people suggesting that this might not be worth doing. And I thought otherwise, and I'm glad I did, because this is hype. This is fucking hype. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, this deck is all done. And so we'll just take a moment. Once again, want to thank you all. We've got Fly, Derek. You all have been in here like champs. You guys are fucking chads. Sticking around this whole time. Thanks for being here. I'm still here. I got a little more energy left in me. We can keep this game going. We could look at something else. Let's see. Let me pull up my to-do list here of stuff to look at. Oh, we had somebody was asking, I think was it Mizu, was asking about Huatli, right? Somebody was asking about Huatli. So this is Huatli. Huatli makes creatures assign combat damage based on toughness. And yeah, you can also gain life equal to the highest toughness of creatures you control, which probably won't be more than like 4 or 5 most of the time, and you probably don't even use it most of the time because your main goal is to not have to recast Huatli. But like, look at this. You just get to, and I know I have 114 cards right now, but like I was on a kick and I found a whole bunch more, like a whole bunch more cards that fit in here. Like I found, where was it? Yeah, Snubhorn Sentry. I found the Staunch Shieldmate and the Valiant Guard, which were cards that I didn't have before. Oh, and the Ageless Guardian. So I found like a bunch of cards that still fit in it. So apologize for the 114. It is what it is. But like this deck is insane. Like if you have like a turn where you go like turn 1 Phyrexian Walker, Forest Arboreal Grazer into land, and then turn 3 you go like Godpharaoh's Faithful into like Grizzled Leotau, and then turn 4 you play Huatli. You can swing for like, how much is that? That's 5, 8, 11, 15, swinging for 15 on turn 4. I mean, like, this is nuts. And these creatures don't die easily. Most of them don't die to bolts. Like, that's some stupid shit. Like the crazy ones are like Giant Ox, the 0/6 for 2. But yeah, powerful stuff. Hardy Veteran is a 4/4 for 2, basically. Moldgraph Shambler is a 4/4 for 2. Main Severall, 4/4 for 2. This is actually a Lord, so it's going to give everything a boost. But yeah, stuff like Arboreal Grazer, Phyrexian Walker, Ornithopter. Scaretiller is cool, but you have to keep in mind, Scaretiller is only a 4/4 for 4, and that's not really good enough. I like Scaretiller, but like everything else in here is like way stronger than that. The only 4 mana 4/4 I play is right here, and that's because it draws me a card. But it's just funny, like this card too, like Cittanul Woodreader is like almost meme-worthy levels of bad, but like people play it because you need card advantage in green. But like in this deck, it just plays out as a 3 mana 4/4, right? And then later on, if you really need to, you can like draw some cards. But like Salvaged Mana Worker, also, you know, like fixing mana, not that big of a deal, but like also just a 2 mana 3/3. Like this is like the strong, I would say this is the most powerful aggro deck in the format on day 1 that Planeswalkers are downshifted easily. Like no other deck has this. Staunch Throne Guard would be an interesting choice. It's 5 mana though, and we're an aggro deck, so Staunch Throne Guard might make it in. I don't know. It's just expensive, you know? And we're going to be working with low land counts. We will have some ramp, but check out this ramp suite here. Like we've got, no one would take the Monarch. Yeah, they wouldn't want to be hit. Jaspera Sentinel, you know, 1 mana 2/2. Loam Dryad, 1 mana 2/2. Oshavra Cultivator, 1 mana 0/3. This is just a 1 mana 3/3, but it's got Defender, so this one might not stay. But Leafkin Druid, 2 mana 3/3, also ramps. So, anyways, I think this is a really cool deck. I started working in some other stuff, like I've got this 3 mana 5/5. I've got this 3 mana 5/5, and then this Convoke, which would essentially, the idea is that I want to add some Convoke creatures so that when you go like turn 1 Llanowar Elf, and then you're like 3 lands, and you go 3 1-drops, and then you can like next turn cast Ladev Guardian for free. Derek says those 3 drops that tap an untapped creature for mana are way better than people think in general. Conclave Phalanx. Conclave Phalanx. So Conclave Phalanx. Yeah, no, this is a good one. I didn't have Conclave Phalanx in here because I was worried that it was a little too much for Convoke. And I have looked at the other Convoke stuff. And I know people like Conclave's Blessing, but it does actually require that we tap our creatures, right? To like pay for it cheaply. Yeah, Crashing Drawbridge is okay. It's always going to be on blocking duty, but it's also giving things haste, which I think is really good. So it's not actually going to be blocking that much because it's going to be tapped. But there's some other ones in here, like we could do Kavu, Primarch is an option. Yeah, I think 4 for Convoke is about where we would want to end. But like, you know, your turn 5 with like, you know, if you go turn 1 Llanowar Druid, or, you know, Loam Dryad, turn 2 you go land 3 mana, 3 1-drops, and like a, you know, an Ornithopter, and then you like Convoke something. Turn 4 you're gonna swing for like 20 damage. It's like huge. So I think that's kind of like, I also consider Willforged Golem, but it's just a little too much. You know, I think Conclave Phalanx actually doesn't make it because of that. But because it's just a little too much. But yeah. Like this will be someday this will be really sweet. I know I speak as if like the planeswalkers are just like destined to be downshifted someday, and that might not be the case, but or not downshifted, but sorry, introduced into Pauper Commander. But I think that there's a general desire, not universal, but a general desire to have them, and they don't break the format, which is good. Like this is obviously introducing something very powerful, but it's also something that we don't have. We don't really have enough cPDH aggro decks. We have, gut decks. We have Amber decks. We have Balmor, Battle Mage Captain. But the rest are like Voltron decks, And having something like this that turns all these like shit cards, these like 1 mana 0/4s into 1 mana 4/4s, is very compelling to me, and it adds a new angle to the format that's cool. So yeah, so I probably end up cutting these artifacts or something. They're probably just like do nothing stuff. Derek says, I don't disagree, but I think there's a lot of unexplored space for aggro decks right now. Yeah, I totally agree too. Yeah, and frankly, like even if you just went with Amber X decks and Gut X decks, like right there you have like, I'm gonna guess like a minimum of 6 good aggro decks, right? If like Feywild, Inspiring Leader, Veteran Soldier, Agent of the Iron Throne. I mean, like there's a good list of stuff that like you can do with just those. Fly says, hope WotC prints some commons around this format, or at least keeps in mind. So I will say, like Gavin Verhey, who does a lot of the design for Magic, has said explicitly that they do not print cards for Pauper, and they don't print them for Pauper. They're definitely not printing them for cPDH or for Pauper Commander. They did do it once, and that was Arkham's Astrolabe. Arkham's Astrolabe is one of the explicit examples where they printed a card for Pauper, and it fucking ruined like several formats at once. It like turned Pauper into just like a bunch of Jeskai decks, noodling each other, to like Modern. It was everywhere, and it was in Legacy, and it just like condensed everything into Snow Astrolabe soup. I mean, I think it was also at the time when they when like Oko was around, and so people were like elking their fucking Astrolabes. It's like, I hate it. Like, so we know that WotC won't do that. However, it's not that WotC doesn't care about Pauper. It's just that they don't print cards for Pauper anymore, and they only really ever did it once. Fly says, weird that they don't, especially given Pauper's an official format. Yeah, that's true. I think part of it is just that like rarity is a really, really weird way to organize a format, like plain and simple. Rarity, like what that means is that certain effects can't complete the color pie. You can't get Damnation or Wrath of God in a commons only format ever. Like the closest you're going to get is Breath Weapon, Pestilence, Fiery Cannonade, Crypt Rats, that shit. Bloodfire Infusion, Clan Shaman. And so it denies certain colors some of the things that like make it good. It's like white is strong for its hate bears, which are unbelievable in Commander, and for its board wipes, and for its removal. And like white has none of those things in this format. The closest we have to a hate bear is Stonehorn Dignitary, which is really obnoxious. And the closest we have to a Wrath of God is Holy Light, which is all non-white creatures get -1/-1 for 3 at instant speed. And the best removal that white has is Journey to Nowhere. So it's a terrible way to organize a format in some ways when you're thinking about like competitive, to say like all commons. So like Pauper is a product of the fact that Magic is too damn expensive. And so like WotC was forced to adopt Pauper as an official format because Pauper is a massive format in countries like Brazil and in Italy and in Argentina. Like Latin America is like where Pauper happens. It's not really a statewide, it's not a states format so much. There are people in the state who do play it, and Rags to Riches is prestigious, you know, in Seattle. But like the format, you know, in like Paupergeddon in Italy, you know, you've got people like, I think Andre Mengucci said recently that like they had signups for Paupergeddon and it sold out like immediately. And Italy, you know, is somewhat of an impoverished country too. And you also have places like, you know, in Latin America that are impoverished too. And it's part of the reason why it's popular there. It's like people don't have as much money. And so, yeah, like you can't afford to buy like a modern or a legacy deck or God forbid, a vintage deck. Like you are going, or even standard, you might not be able to afford standard. And so like, that's why those formats are big there. So I think WotC had to adopt Pauper in part because they just, the groundswell of demand for it was so big. And what that represents is that there's a groundswell of need for accessibility in Magic. Non-rotating, eternal formats where your cards don't go to waste, where the formats rotate slowly, and you know, where the cards don't cost you so much money. So, so yeah, we won't be getting cards printed for Pauper, I don't think. That doesn't mean that they won't make decisions about downshifts based on Pauper. That's an opportunity. That's always an opportunity. Commander sets, they said that they won't be doing commander set downshifts anymore that impact Pauper because they think that fucks things up. And in some ways it kind of does, but like, you know, we're kind of like Legacy. Legacy gets eternal legal cards all the time. If anybody plays Legacy, you have to look no further than insane card is the artifact Kappa Cannoneer. Like Kappa Cannoneer like broke Legacy and people couldn't even get the card. So Derek says downshift, Fire Fist Strike, WotC, you cowards. Fire Fist Strike. Two mana, 2/1. When it Fire Fist Striker and at least 2 other creatures attack, target creature can't block this turn. Oh, see that says. See that's that is totally reasonable. Like that's easy downshift. Easy downshift. Soul Ring is printed in common, says Fly. So Soul Ring was printed in common. But it is a yeah, exactly 30th anniversary non-legal set. So like you'll see that like it's kind of funny, but like a lot of the language WotC has to use now about like rarity and stuff has to clarify that it does or does not impact Pauper. Like a really good example of this is like what happened with Path to Exile, where Swords to Plowshares, which was a spell that you could conjure on MTG Arena, and it was conjured at common, and it was listed everywhere common, and it's still a common. Let's go look at it. So Swords to Plowshares. Let's see. So we can go all printings, and we go to Jumpstart, Historic Horizons. Yeah, look at this. Right? We got common rarity. We got the common symbol. It was printed in an online. It was released in an online set. The literally the heuristics for Pauper say any card released online in an online Magic the Gathering product or printed in paper at common rarity is legal. Swords to Plowshares, boom. They had to make a special exception. Gavin Ver, he had to make a special exception to say, this is just like, I don't know how he had like the power to do this, but he was able to just say, yeah, it's a common, but it's not supposed to be, and it's not in the format. So we don't have Swords to Plowshares because Gavin Ver, he doesn't think we should. But like this, everything about this meets the criteria for a Pauper legal card. Yep, Flygen, if a common version of a particular card was released in Magic the Gathering paper product or Magic the Gathering online, any version of that card is legal in the format. And that language is new. That language right there did not used to specify that it had to be MTGO, right? And this is, and what's actually fascinating, just like we're on a rant, but we're gonna keep it going. The most interesting thing about that is how Pauper represented the first diversion between paper and online cards. It's the first time that an online card was going to be different than it was in paper, which is really the beginning of Magic online, whether it be or really through Arena, which is eventually going to be kind of like the main thing, that Arena started heading towards Hearthstone, where you could start to tweak and tune cards to balance them to be better for competitive play, which I'm not opposed to. I think this probably should have happened a long time ago. You leave paper formats, paper cards they play as they read, and online cards can change. Fly says, which is weird for that Soul Ring because it's a paper common. Exactly, which I think speaks again to why rarity-based format is a terrible organization. I mean, it's a product of the fact that Magic is too expensive, and that's why people made Pauper, was that they wanted to have an affordable, eternal play experience where they got to play with all their powerful legacy stuff. And frankly, in a format that matches a little bit more of like how Garfield built, Richard Garfield built Magic. Like Pauper feels so much, it feels so similar to old school. Like if any of you all have ever played old school before, old school is 93, 94. It's like 935 cards in the format. And yeah, like Derek, you just said, very nuts and bolts. That's exactly it. It's like dopey creatures, removal, like counter spell. It's a very nuts and bolts fundamentals. It's very creature based. It's creature based, and yet the creatures are like dopey. You've got like your dragon whelp type stuff. Like the biggest, nastiest creature in the format to me feels like Juzum Jin, where you've got like a 4-mana 5/5 that damages you every turn. That's huge in that format. Matches the color wheel better than the other formats, much more creature-based. Creatures used to suck bad, but the non-creature stuff was powerful. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like okay, this is fun. I like that we're on this rant right now. This is good. We're gonna go to old school here because I want to show you we just built a mono black deck, but let's take a look at mono black in 93, 94. Look at this. This is some shit right here, dude. Yo, Hypnotic Spectre, Pestilence, Kumbaj Witches, Dark Ritual, Terror, and then look at this. 4 Sinkhole, 4 Hymn to Turok, and 4 Drain Life. Dude, this deck slaps with Strip Mine in it. Oh my god. It's like vintage level stuff, legacy level stuff, but with like dopey stuff like Black Knight, Super cool. I'm telling you guys, with the tryhards Discord server, we've already had some demand for us to open up a Pauper section. And I think that we will be doing that. 60 card Pauper. That's really where I started. I started playing playing in Magic and Invasion. But when I got back into it, it was way too expensive for me to play competitively. So I found Pauper through the professor. this, and I actually started playing when Hymn to Turok and Sinkhole were legal in Pauper, because these are commons on the ban list. But that's kind of where I got my start. So like this server, the Tryhards, will have a Pauper section someday. And frankly, I'll probably make a section for 93, 94 old school, because this format kicks ass. It's so silly because like the cards in it are just silly. Like you like there's just like really like silly how do we search for all the cards? Yeah, like we've just got like silly stuff. You know, you've got the like original rock that could be cracked to do damage. You've got like, you know, this stuff, and you've got that next to like ancestral recall. And I think that, you know, there's a lot of, and like animate dead. Like now that being said though, like most old school formats have a rules base that either has these cards restricted or banned. So like the way I like old school is where you don't have the Moxen, you don't have Black Lotus, you don't have Ancestral Recall, you don't get what's the black one? It's an X spell. That didn't help. It's called Brain something? No. Oh, I need to do O discard. Yeah. Like, you want to see some shit, you like look up old school. And you can do on Scryfall, yeah, Mind Twist. That's the one. Yes, Mind Twist. But you do F colon old school, and it'll take you there. But yeah, like Mind Twist is usually considered restricted. This one right here, because it's just disgusting. It's like pay 3, they discard 2 at random. You pay 4, they discard their hand. So this is usually just there's one of it, right? But you also get like, look at this. You get Wheel of Fortune. You know, and so one of the problems you run into is that if you allow those things to be in the format, then it all condenses around everybody playing all the Moxen, everybody playing, you know, all of like these best things, right? And then they bend their color into some weird color soup thing that just looks generic, and it's I don't like it. So you ban all the power, you ban some of the other stuff. And it's just it's a fun format. It really feels like, you know, amazing Magic. I even have a Tron deck here because the Urza lands were built back then too. If we go back here and we go old school, yeah, Derek says my man Sinbad. Yeah, that's right. Like, but Tron, you can play Mud. I don't have this deck completed right now, but it's a but there's a couple of cards in old school that are pretty like commonly played. And it depends on like whether you play with mana burn or not. Like OG old school players are, you know, like you can only play with the original printing of the card. You know, like you can only play with the original printing, and they'll keep their mana burn as well. So a card like Su-Chi was designed not to be a 4-mana 4/4 with like no downside or with upside, but it's intended to be a card that if your opponent kills it during your turn and you can't spend the 4 mana, you take 4 damage because of mana burn. That's how it was designed. Tetravus, which just you get 3+1/+1 counters, and then during your upkeep you can move as many of those counters off to make 1/1s. So this is kind of like this is like a 6 mana Battle Screech with artifact flying creatures. And then Triskelion is like one of like the premier reanimator cards with All Hallows Eve or with Animate Dead. Comes in with 3 counters on it. You can remove the counters to do 1 damage to any target, which means you can like empty it to kill things, and then it goes back into the graveyard to All Hallows Eve again. It's just great. And then Colossus, which is just a 9 mana 9/9 with trample that doesn't untap. Yeah. And then yeah, you've got stuff like Aladdin's Ring, which you can pay 8 to deal 4 damage to target creature or player. you know, drawing cards. Yeah, so all this stuff. And then, of course, you're playing like Tabernacle and Mishra's Workshop, Mishra's Factory, Arena to like fight your stuff, and then the Tron Lance. Soul Ring. Soul Ring is also usually on the reserved list, so that this wouldn't be able to exist. But yeah, so there's old school. I think I've got this white, red. Yeah, I was building something here with like lightning bolt and path. Oh, I gotta switch the printings, right? Oh, path isn't. Oh, path isn't. It's Swords to Plowshares. Oh. There we go. But yeah, this is another deck I was working on, which is just going to be like a Jeskai control deck with a Shivan Dragon top end. Because Shivan Dragon is like this card fucks in this format. But like I wouldn't be playing this shit because I don't know. I mean, you could. Mox Opal isn't also legal. Switch printings. We need the oldest printing if we want to be like real authentic. It's the one thing I will say about old school, and I'm pretty vocal about this, but I think that the elitism around like preventing people from just like playing with whatever cards they have and like whatever printing is available and the like no proxy rules are some of the stupidest rules. They're just stupid, and they're just gatekeeping the format essentially. And there's a lot of old school that is that way. So some of the people that play the format, I think, just like have a culture of just like being like, I don't know, not the greatest, and that's like really against my values in Magic. But yeah, still a cool format though. So I'll probably make an old school section of the channel, just like a single, little channel that's dedicated to old school. But like, how cool would it be to have like a top end of just Shivan Dragons and Juzum Djinns and like sinkholes and lightning bolts and chain lightnings and oh man, it's like this is the shit right here. I like it. So anyways, we're kind of lost in the sauce here a little bit. But y'all are hanging on here, so we'll probably hang on for another 15 minutes or so. Is there anything anybody wants to talk about, look at, discuss? Derek, thank you so much for showing up. I'm really glad you stuck around. And thank you for all your contributions. This deck is invariably better for the recommendations you had. So thanks for showing up. And we'll hope to catch you on the next stream or in Discord or for a game one of these times. But yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your night. Yeah. This deck is... it really turned out. And haters gonna hate, but you know what? You just gotta build it to see, and then you gotta play. So thank you, and we'll catch you on the flip, Derek. See ya. All right. Yeah. The deck ended up strong. I'm almost worried that we're gonna need to like have more life gain in the deck because we're gonna draw so many cards off Corpse Augur. You know? But like the fact that Corpse Augur is going to like, it's going to dissuade aggression, right? People won't want to like attack us. It's also a 4/2. I also really liked the realization at the end that like after we're done drawing cards with it and we don't need to draw cards anymore, we can just cast it with Opal Palace, you know, and it'll be probably like a 6/4 or a 7/5. You know, it's like big, and it's going to draw more cards if they try to kill it. And we'll just recast it and make it bigger with Opal Palace. So I like that. I like the transition point where Corpse Augur is just like this thick black creature that can just like come and clap you. I do worry about our life total though. I'm curious to see, like, you know, with the Night's Whisper, Sign in Blood, Dusk Legion Zealot, and then Corpse Augur. But, you know, that's what this is for, you know. Gary will make it all better. That's all I'm going to say. We could play Brain Spoil in here for Gary, and for Rottide Garganta, and for Silumgar Scavenger, Loathsome Curator, Underdark Explorer, Staunch Throne Guard. But that seems cute. I'm not a big fan of tutoring for the most part. It's a lot of mana to do like one thing. That thing had better be really freaking good. I mean, Dimir Houseguard finds Pestilence. That's like as good as it gets. So. Okay. You know what? I think fine folks, common connoisseurs of fine common cardboard, and friends, I am going to wrap it up for tonight, actually. I'm going to take this chance to do some reading, drink some more water, maybe watch some Legacy. There's some old school channels that you could check out there. But yeah, I think it's time for me to skedaddle. So thank you all for staying. If you've got a chance and you haven't done it so far, give me a little like if you enjoyed the content. Leave a comment if there's anything you want to share, any feedback. We are in the development phase of this, you know, of this big content push where we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. And of course, you know, for you all out there, like, you know, if you're chatting here, I know that you are, so that's fine. Once we do that, that opens up a lot of things we can do in the channel. And so if you know people that would enjoy this content, share it with them, and invite them to come and join us live. I always love seeing people posting about our content elsewhere, and it's really helpful for us getting our stuff out there and makes it feel worth it to do. So anyways, enough of the self-promotion. Thank you for all your contributions on the deck today and for joining us this evening. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Thank you.